All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the May meeting of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. If we could stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Maybe sit. All right, good morning. Well, as you can see, we've got a full agenda today, and we're going to spend a great deal of time. I think the folks that are hearing that, Hugh, can you check that computer over there? I think we're getting audio back through the computer. Thank you. So we have a full agenda today. We have our partners in the house, CAL FIRE and the Forest Service, along with Sheriff's OES and our local fire departments to give us a fire season update. Before that, we want to make sure folks, board members, ensure you sign in. Carrie will be working the room to make sure you sign in and get credit for being here. Item number 4, consent calendar. It's a board action item. We have 2 items, today's meeting agenda and the board meeting minutes from April. Looking at board members, any comments, questions on the agenda or the consent calendar? David?
Yes, Ryan.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Ron will talk during the partners report. Any other questions or comments on the consent calendar?
I'll move acceptance of the consent calendar items.
It moved by Chris. Looking for a second. Janet Barron, the treasurer, approving the consent calendar, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, consent calendar is approved as presented. Thank you. All right, with that, it'll take me a second to get the PowerPoint up, but I want to introduce Unit Chief Mike Blankenheim from CAL FIRE, Ryan Wagner, Division with the El Dorado National Forest. They're going to present to us the 2025 fire season outlook, which is going to be all roses and everything's going to be fine this year. So hang on here, let me get this.
5 feet away.
Get the sharing going here. Hang on. All right, everyone see that? Okay, and I can be your advancer if you would like.
All right, so good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Blankenheim. I'm the unit chief of the Amador El Dorado unit for CAL FIRE, and
Ryan Wagner, I'm the assistant chief for the El Dorado National Forest, our fire management planning specialist.
So Ryan and I are going to talk a little bit about what happened this last winter and what we're kind of expecting for the upcoming fire season. So we're going to talk about the fuels and the weather, and we're going to focus primarily on the weather. We understand that California has a real issue with the fuels out there. The abundance of fuel on the ground right now is higher than it's been in a long time. Do people remember the 2020 fire season? I do for sure. Yeah, did it really even happen then? So
we're up in the woods because that was the only thing still.
Exactly. So in 2020, the state burned about 4.5 million acres. Probably one of the biggest fire seasons I think we've ever experienced. What the scientists are saying right now, and I agree, I think they're right on. What we're seeing anecdotally tracks with what they're saying right now. And the winters that we've had in the last 4 or 5 years, followed by the growing seasons, the spring, the summer conditions we've had, and quite frankly, we've had some huge fire seasons the last 4 or 5 years. They've still been way busier than they've been, like going back to 2010 and that kind of thing, but they haven't been what we had in like 2015 through 2020 kind of era. So right now out there is more tons of fuel on the ground in California than there was before the 4.5 million acres burned in 2020. So we've had a bunch of large fires in the last 5 or 6 years, and I keep getting questions about, at what point is the fuel going to be burned off the landscape? And the answer is it's not going to be. It regenerates faster than we're able to, then wildfire is able to burn it off, and then we're able to clear it. So there's real challenges with the fuel out there, and that's the whole reason for the existence of this group and all those kind of things. So what we're going to kind of primarily talk about today is the water. The rainfall, the snow content, and some of those kind of things. We all understand the fuel problem out there. And my opinion is that the fuel is there and it's not a problem here until it gets dry. And then when it gets dry, it becomes a catastrophe for the state of California. Again, the water is kind of what drives the fire season. So that's primarily what we're gonna talk about today. So and despite what Ken said, I think we are gonna have a fire season. Yeah, so go next slide.
Gotcha. So it's not advancing on the.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I can see it up there. So let's get an answer right here.
Hey, Ken, you lost that screen though.
All right. Hang on. And I'm gonna just hold on to the stop sharing and reshare because it's not advancing for the folks online. We'll stick you on it here in a minute.
Okay, so last winter, the water year, October till about now from last year. So it was predicted as the La Nina forecast, and that's pretty much what we saw out of it. So cooler across the western U.S. with normal to above normal precipitation for the northern portions and below normal for the southern portions. And we're going to talk about that dividing line a little bit today. One of the unique features of what we saw this last winter was a very unique line, right about where we're sitting right now, where everything north of it was normal precipitation, above normal precipitation, had a very good, wet, productive winter. Everything south of where we're at right now, as we'll see in the next few slides, had no moisture this winter at all. And the southern half of the state is re-entering those drought conditions that they were in the 2016, 2017 years. And we'll see that here in a couple minutes.
Apologies, it's very specific as to which one you pick. All good. There we go. All right, walk me through which one.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
Okay, so so this year, this is a graph of the storm systems we had this last winter. We have a new term right now. We're calling it 56 atmospheric rivers that made landfall. I think 4 or 5 years ago, we did just call these like the winter storms that hit the coast. There was actually one that may have been what we consider an atmospheric river, and I don't remember what date that was. But the idea behind this slide here, plenty of storms hit the west coast here. They were not as productive as they were last year as far as volume of rain and some of those kind of things go. So and this doesn't actually it does. You can kind of see there a dividing line there where the Lake Tahoe Basin on the right hand side there, the San Francisco Bay on the other side there. You can see north of that the volume of storms that hit the west coast. Most of those storms were hitting above that line there. We did get some south of that line, but you can see the predominant activity this last winter as far as delivering moisture came here and came north of here as well. So
yeah, mainly as you guys looking, it was mainly November, December for a lot of those. So how long is that water going to really stick around? And then Southern California didn't really even see any activity until March.
Yeah,
which we saw with the January fire season down there in South Ops.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, and this is just another illustration kind of showing that. So on the left-hand side here is the water content of the storms we had this year. So again, you can kind of see the graph there in the northern part of the state in the blue, green, purple areas. The northern part of the state got above normal precipitation over the wintertime. And again, that line kind of going right through the middle part of the state there, right where we're standing right now, south of here, got very little to almost no precipitation. You can kind of see that on the graph there. The chart on the right there is temperature over the wintertime. The same kind of thing. It was a warm winter, and we're going to get into the snowpack here in a little bit. We'll talk about what that did to the snowpack. Next slide, please. Oh, it's up there. Okay, unit rainfall. So now we're going to kind of get a little bit more local here right now. So the picture on the left there is the rainfall totals and what we had for the Elmwood or El Dorado unit. For here, we're going to kind of talk about El Dorado County specifically. So you can see the colors on the map there. I'm trying to pick it out of my thing here. So the darker the color, so the brown, the orange, and that kind of thing, those are lower volumes of rainfall. So you see Amador County in the southern parts of the unit, and then the very eastern parts of the unit were 60 or 70% of the average rainfall. Alpine County in the eastern part of the unit right now being probably the driest that we've had, and they're almost back in drought-like conditions. El Dorado County, like I said, kind of was that line for the storm systems that came through. And the western part of the county did a little bit better with normal rainfall. And again, as we kind of go east up the hill there, it gets a little bit drier. And as you can see, as we kind of go north into Placer County and that kind of thing, it gets better and better as far as fuel conditions go. On the right-hand side here, into snowpack, we'll talk about that on the next slide. Yep. Okay, snowpack as of April 1st. So every year they do the snowpack measurements on April 1st every year. So that's why it's a consistent measurement across year to year to year to year. So we had a big storm on March 31st of this year that impacted a little bit the measurements on April 1st. It really made the snowpack measurements look like it was a very normal snow year for us because we got the snow right before they measured it. But I think that might be a little bit misleading, as we're going to see in a minute here. So, and it definitely varies across the state. The graphic on the right there is a little bit hard to see because it's kind of small, but it's anyway, talk about that. So let's go to the next slide. Snow water equivalent. So even though the snowpack that we had on April 1st, like the inches of snow were there. So it read like a very average year for snowfall up there, but it was also a very dry snow. So the water in the snow itself wasn't what it was the last couple of years. So there wasn't a ton of volume of snow. It stayed high and melted fast, and there wasn't a ton of water in it to begin with. So the snow looked good, but as far as it being able to mute the fuel conditions for the coming fire season, it did not do that. Anything you want to?
Yeah, that's all I was going to say too. Just to echo that, is it was the freeze thaw essentially.
Yeah.
We had all of those warming trends in between those storms, so we ended up losing a lot of that water content in the form of runoff. So there's still a lot of snow on the hill. It just doesn't have the water content it normally has.
Okay. Yes, this is kind of saying the same thing. The warm temps in April have also caused the snow to melt. Heavier fuels will be drying quickly and some of that kind of thing. So if people remember a year ago, we had the snow on the Sierras that came all the way down, and it stayed white on the ground for probably 5,000 feet or something like that. So into the springtime, we just absolutely aren't seeing that this year, and we haven't seen that. I went to Tahoe on Monday, so just a couple of days ago. There's no snow on the ground anywhere. On the north-facing slopes and some of the places like along the highway where it's permanently shady, there's some snow patches on the ground there. But the rest of it, anything that's exposed to wind or sun, is completely dry and dusty already. So those fuels up there that actually were not available to burn last year are going to be readily available to burn this year, and probably fairly early on, maybe July or something like that this year. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is our higher elevation above 6,000 feet, we are seeing the same exposure that Mike was talking about on those slopes. So the heavy fuels that are typically not available till August, September as the snow starts to melt, we're probably going to start seeing those, mid-June or early July. So as far as fire season in the higher elevation, we're looking at probably 6 weeks ahead of our normal schedule.
Yeah. And this is exactly what Ryan was talking about. We did get snow, we did get those things early on there, but it melted as it came. Couple that with the fact that we had a couple of really good years the last couple of years as far as filling up the reservoirs. The reservoirs are in really good shape this year, and we can see that by the graph here. We're going to have full Folsom Lake. Those are going to be full because the snow is not sitting on the ground up in the mountains covering the fuels up. It's sitting in the reservoirs right now. So it's good for the water. It's good for the reservoirs. It wasn't good for the fire protection in the higher elevations.
Yeah, this is so Region 3 is what Forest Service affectionately calls Arizona, New Mexico for the federal response. So as you can see down there in the southwestern part of the country, we're already experiencing very dry drought conditions, and we've already activated several crews nationally and are sending folks to help the fires down there in the southwest. What that means to us is that we're already going to start experiencing some resource stuff that's going to be moving around the country. So.
Yeah, spot on. The reason we include this in the presentation here, he just hit it, that nothing we do here locally, we don't do it alone. We rely on resources from the region, from out of state, from all those kind of things. And as the regions around us get busier and busier with their activity, the available resources we have to bring here gets less and less. So we do rely heavily on the southern part of our state and some of the other Forest Service national regions to get resources into California. But as they get busier and busier with their stuff down there, those resources become unavailable for us. So it's just something that we got to pay attention to, that it is a global community and we got to pay attention to what's going on regionally around us. The drought monitor. So last year, the one on the left there, like I said, we had a couple of really good winters in a row. And last year, the state didn't experience any drought at all. We were where we needed to be across the state. Fast forward 365 days to the graphic on the right. We're not quite where we were, in 2017 and those kind of years there. But in the southern part of the state, we're getting into that exceptionally dry drought conditions again. And we just said it, we saw that in January, what we had down there in January. Nothing is going to absorb any moisture down the southern part of the state. So it is going to be just as dry throughout the rest of this year as it was in January. So those wind events that we're going to see down there are going to cause fires.
Yeah, and this just reinforces that line that Chief Lieutenant was talking about. You can kind of see the drought, and everything's lining up with pretty much that Bay Area Sacramento Highway 50.
Yep. All right. So now the crystal ball. What does all this mean for the upcoming fire season? How is that going to impact us here locally? So we'll see. That's what we call it, the crystal ball, because there is some guesswork in some of these things here. So Ryan was just talking about, not if you want to speak to this or not, but you were just kind of talking about this, and I was talking about this with Ken a little bit here. So one of these slides here is going to say, it might be this one here that says, the spring growth and curing of the fuels is about 6 or 8 days earlier this year than it is on a normal year, meaning that, if June 1st is normally the day where the grass is available, burns, it finally cures out, it would be, right now this year. A couple of days ago, I thought that was accurate. And anecdotally, just seeing how fast things are drying around us and watching the grass turn, the fuels cure, and that kind of thing. I don't think it's 6 or 8 days ahead of schedule. I think we're probably 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule right now. So I think you're probably seeing the same thing, especially maybe in the higher.
Yeah, and the fact that we had a higher, warmer storms, we're seeing a grass crop at a higher elevation than we usually get up on the forest.
Yeah. Peak flow for the rivers and that kind of thing. So normally the peak flow, the snow melt and all those kind of things. I'm sorry, let me back up. So what the peak flow of the rivers is when the snow melt has occurred and the rivers are going to be at their peak capacity, meaning the majority of the snow is already melted and that water is in the river systems and in the reservoirs. That has already occurred. The rivers have hit their peak flow, and the flow is starting to come down. So that's just another way of saying that, yeah, we know snow melted already and we're going to be drier sooner this year.
Yeah, ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
Since most of these peak flows are happening in May instead of like the beginning of June.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Soil moisture. How much moisture stays in the soil, and this is really important for the finer fuels that actually carry the fire, the grass top, the brush, and those kind of things. The wetter the soil is, the deeper that moisture goes down into the soil, the longer those annual grasses are going to grow and stay green and be unavailable to burn. As you can see in here, we're kind of right on the line of a normal soil moisture year. But as we can see what's going on around us here right now, it is drying fast. There are places where the shale bed is maybe a little deeper, so the soil is deeper, that the grass will stay a little bit greener. Some of the low-lying areas where there's moisture, they'll stay green there. But anything, just like the snow country, anything that's exposed to the sun or the wind is pretty much ready to burn today. So we're there.
Yeah, I was going to say, anybody that's driven up the highway in the last week or two, you've probably just watched the change as you've been driving back and forth on your daily commute.
Yep. This is a Sac County map. We did this presentation in Sacramento County a couple of days ago. So this is really kind of looking at Sacramento County and just kind of showing the grass crop down there. The lighter the color, the more available that grass is to burn. This graphic is like 7 days old now or something like that. So that yellow is a lot more prevalent than the blue is right now. Sacramento County is ready to burn. They've had some fires in their own jurisdiction that have been 70 or 80 acres already. So they're starting to get the grass fires right now. So those things are going to start coming up the hill here fairly soon. And so kind of getting into the outlook here and the fuel moistures. I'm having a hard time seeing this on the screen here. I don't think it's bigger or not, but so can't see the numbers on there. But anyway, the fuel moistures, the live fuel moistures, the couple of things that drive the fire spread in the early part of the fire season. The grass crop is by far the first thing. When the grass crop cures, that's what carries the fire. That's what allows it to spread. For the next couple of weeks, when that grass fires, when they hit the live fuels, the chamise that's still growing, the manzanita that's still growing, and those kind of things, for a couple more weeks, the brush is going to slow the fire down because it has a lot of moisture in it still, and it's not going to carry the fire through the brush. We've already hit the peak growing cycle for the brush, just like everything else here, and those fuel moistures are starting to come down. They're probably in the 150% range right now, which is unavailable to burn. When they start getting down into the 90 percentile, they start becoming available to burn. When they get to 75 or 70%, they burn like the dead grass and they become the driver of the fire. So again, the theme today is that's going to start happening earlier this year than it has in a couple years past. It's not ready yet. You can kind of see it as you drive around out there. The brush has flowers on it. The leaves are really green and those kind of things. That's going to start changing rapidly. The leaves are going to start dying. The flowers are going to come off, and that brush is going to be ready to go here mid-June, end of June at the latest.
Yeah.
Something like that. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, the North Ops outlook for what you guys are seeing here. So for early May, you can see it's kind of a normal year, and then June. So pretty much the saving grace for North Ops was the coastal range. So the coast caught all the water coming over the hill. So we're not really going to see them having any sort of elevated fire, but you can kind of see the backside of that coastal range into the Central Valley in May, June, and then once we hit July through August, we're looking at most of the northern interior part of the state being in an elevated fire.
The only thing I'm say about this is got to remember for us too that kind of top left graphic looks great. Normal for California is an active fire season. Normal for us is dry with fires burning. So just because there's not the big red on the map doesn't mean it's going to be a muted fire season. Normal for us is a real fire season. So what this is saying is we're going to have a above average fire season. We can anticipate going to a bunch of fires this year. So same kind of thing for the southern part of the state. A little bit more pronounced because of what they did not get for moisture this year. You know, starting early on here, a quote unquote normal fire season, and as we progress through the summer months, the above normal chances get higher and higher depending on where you're at in the southern part of the state. But again, I want to stress this too, that normal fire season in the southern part of the state is busy fire season. So normal on the left there is just busy, and as we kind of go through to the right there, we start getting into the fire seasons that we may have had in the last few years. Seasonal temperature outlook, same kind of thing, above normal, and then the same thing on the precipitation, normal to below normal. But again, this is a Mediterranean West Coast climate. Normal for us is hot and dry. Normal for us is no precipitation in the summertime. So for this to say, it's a normal summer for us, that's good, but that also means it's going to be hot and dry. So we know that. Maybe slightly hotter than normal, maybe drier than normal, although drier than zero rain is probably hard to do, but yeah.
And as far as the
Negative rain.
And as far as the Southwest is concerned, you can kind of see down there for their moisture. So they are anticipating their normal monsoons, which they get their summer rain and thunderstorms that show up about the first week of July every year. So once they get that down there, that's going to kind of tamper down all the fire activity that's going on in Arizona and New Mexico. But with that, if we get those tropical intrusions, if any of them appear this way, that could lead to more lightning hitting the state. So
yeah, and we'll get I think that's on the slide here in a second or two. So yeah. Moving into an ENSO neutral forecast. So everything we're talking about right now with all the models and those kind of things moving forward are just that. They're models about predicting what's coming up here. So they're not 100% accurate, and there's error in it and some of those kind of things. So one of the things that they predicted last year that they were spot on with, and they're predicting the same thing this year. And this is I don't want to see this, but it's going to be there. They talked about an abnormally hot spell from like end of June kind of thing through like the middle to the end of August, where I don't know how many days we had last year that we hit 109, 110 degrees and that kind of thing. They're talking about that same kind of phenomenon coming this year. So we are really preparing for hot, dry summer coming up. So we'll see.
So is.
Maybe.
Sorry.
ENSO neutral is so you got a La Nina and El Nino. This is right in between. So we're not really experiencing one or the other. That's what they mean by neutral forecast, is we're not really experiencing a La Nina or an El Nino.
The IFBAN that put this presentation together said I was supposed to call that a Lanata year, and that was just that one.
I like that. I'll use it. Yeah.
Makes sense to somebody. Okay. The lightning piece of it. And this is a big unknown for us, and this is one of those things that we just don't know and are not going to know until it happens. We can start really kind of seeing these things develop maybe a week out, 10 days out, or something along those lines. But this is hard for us to predict and hard for us to prepare for. This is what 2020 brought us, and it's that monsoon season in the Four Corners down there in Arizona, New Mexico, and some of those kind of places. As those storm chassis develop there and start tracking north and west, they start coming into Region 5, which is California and those kind of things. And depending on their intensity, They drop their moisture in the Four Corners. They drop their moisture in Arizona and those kind of places. And as they track north, they keep the energy, but they lose the moisture. 20. That's what happened in 2020. It brought that right through the middle of the state of California. We had lightning from Tulare all the way to Mendocino County, and it had no moisture with it. How they predict these things, I don't know. They have their modeling and all those kind of things. So again, it's an above average chance of those lightning chances being here this year. Whatever's in their model, they're saying that. They're saying this could be a year where those monsoonal storm systems do track through California and bring those lightning events. Again, whether it happens or not, who knows? We're ready for it. That's one of the things we're not going to know until they start developing.
Yeah, as far as so far in the springtime, we have been tracking monthly above average for lightning strikes, about 1,000 over our annual for each month. I think in the month of April there was like 3,000 lightning strikes in North Ops. All had rain though, so they weren't necessarily fire starters. So just be depending on what moisture comes with it or not.
Yep. Okay, some of the final thoughts for this morning. Continued warm spring into the summertime with periods of very hot, very warm to hot temperatures in June and July. I think we're going to see that 100%. They're doubling down on their forecast for that part of it. The transition from a La Nina event to an Enso neutral will make forecasting beyond August challenging until we get further into the springtime, and that's a given for these things. That the further out we go, the harder it is to kind of predict what's coming. The closer we get to the events, the easier it is to go. So, but they're already saying there's going to be some events in their modeling that's going to make this hard for the National Weather Service to predict accurately for the next couple of months. So we'll see what turns out. Indications are strong that summer 25 could feature near to above North America the lightning set we just talked about. There's been a lot of fuel buildup over California in the last couple of years, especially in the grass, and we just kind of talked about that. There is a ton of fuel on the landscape right now. The brush, the timber, the grass, all those kind of things. And talk about the grass crop and the grass fuel model a little bit as we kind of wrap this up here right now. What drives the fires in California? They start in the grass crop, the fine dead fuels. The grass carries them into the brush and the heavier fuels, and that's what gets the fires going. The grass crop is kind of like the gateway drug to the bigger fires out there. You got to have the grass crop to have the other fires going there. So we have an abnormal grass crop this year. It's heavy, it's thick this year from the wintertime, from the temperatures we've had this year. And the grass in the last couple of years that's also present that hasn't burned is still there. So anecdotally, I live over in Jackson and Amarillo County there. The grass at my house right now is shoulder high on me right now. And it is thick because it hasn't burned in my house. It's 2 or 3 years of grass crop there. You can't even walk through it right now. So the fuel loading, the temperature that's going to come off of that with the flame links and those kind of things, it's going to be hard to control some of those grass fires. And as we get into the next 5 or 6 weeks here, that temperature that comes out of the fuel and the grass fires that is going to transition to the brush and the timber. We're gearing up for a challenging fire season as we get into the next couple of months. I'll leave it at that. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good one to end on.
Yeah. So
Gateway drug.
I always call it kindling, but gateway drug.
it's the marijuana fire season. Okay, so that is the presentation. So questions, comments, discussion.
Yeah, we've got time, folks.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we've got the
Yeah.
two experts here. Please fire away, and we'll pass microphones around.
Can you predict if any of these on the federal level budget cuts are going to affect your ability to get good information from the Weather Service?
Great question.
You notice Mike's not answering it.
Real quick, Dan, for the federal level stuff. We're not seeing any major issues with our NOAA and our weather forecasters right now, especially up in North Ops. Those folks are still around, and we still have our analysts up there working. So
So do they work for you or do they work for NOAA?
So they work for NOAA in conjunction out of the interagency dispatch center up there in Reading.
Good question. Have you predicted when you're going to stop the burn permits?
That's a good question. I would like to keep burn permits valid as long as humanly possible. We want people to have the ability to take care of their properties, burn their vegetation, all of those kind of things. However, watching what's going on out there, we're going week by week right now. My partners in the southern part of the state, like Calaveras County and South, they've already suspended all the burn permits. They're doing that this week. We're not ready here yet on that, but we're kind of tracking around that June 1st date. Somewhere right around there was probably going to be the end of burn permits, but more to come on that.
As
But as we're doing home assessments, and you were talking about grass.
Yep.
Of kind of encouraging people, I'm sort of figuring that if it's green, that tell folks to, get ready. But as it starts to dry out, that would be a real big focus that we might be sharing with folks for doing home assessments.
Yep, green grass around a house is not a problem. Dead grass around a house is a real problem. So yeah, if they can take care of the grass and get it mowed down, get it weed eated down, and those kind of things, especially before it turns brown, that's even better. But yeah, the grass crop around the house needs to go away.
Other questions? Here you go.
Got one. Oh, like right there.
With the increasing droughts and the climate change and all that, at what point does normal stop being normal and they start redefining normal?
It's a great question. I don't know. When we talk about, I think I even said in the presentation that we talked about a normal fire season. I don't know. We're in my mind when I talk about what's a normal fire season, I'm kind of going back to like 2010, that kind of thing where things seem to be a lot more stable, where the winter times were more predictable, the summer times were more predictable, and Cal Fire and the Forest Service too, I think were able to hire predictably, staff up predictably, those kind of things. And after we got into the drought years of 2010, 2011, 2012, for me, it really started with a fire called Ponderosa Fire up in Manton in 2012. That was kind of like when things kind of changed a little bit there. So trying to define what normal is now is hard because we get some winters where we have some good moisture and like last year we had the Park Fire in Butte County, but that was the one anomaly we had last year. That was a wind-driven event for some of that and that kind of thing. But with as volatile as the weather has been for the last 10 or 12 years, with super wet winters, a couple of them, super hot and dry, those kind of things, I don't know what the new normal is. This to me seems like what the new normal is we figure these things out in the springtime. We get ready as best we can to what's going to be coming ahead. We rely on our weather forecasters to collect the data and those kind of things and put it out there. But that's a great question. I don't know if you want to take a stab at it, but I don't know how to find
I was going to say, and Chief even said it, like we still have it in our vernacular because I have too, fire season.
Yeah.
We're still adjusting our brains mentally to fire year. Because that's what's going on, and we are staffing. I know the Forest Service, we're staffing, grabbing more permanent employees and doing stuff like that, and actually acknowledging and adapting to more of a fire-driven year. So making sure we have equipment that's available year-round as opposed to our usual model, which was like May to November, and then we'd lay half the crews off. It'd be wet. We get some burning done. Everything else, bring everybody back on in May. Now we have stuff that's available year-round. I have a hot shot crew that used to only have like 8 permanent employees. It's up to 17 year-round. So.
A couple of questions. We rely on flag noticing. I noticed that the news media has really picked up on it. Their weather people are identifying red flag noticing. I have commented that with a Whopper that we might get a flag on the government center right over Highway 50. And then actually put the flag up when we have that so that people get a more visual notice of what's going on. The other thing is the reservoirs are high. Berryessa spilled. That's a big deal for that area. I was wondering if you could comment on our reservoir heights at this point. And then finally, I saw they've been practicing somewhere around what was it, Lodi or someplace. Cal Fire has got some exercises on aerial attacking. I thought maybe you might speak to that, and also our preparation. The governor was at I think McClellan with the planes and stuff that we now have that we didn't have before. I was hoping that you might talk about that.
Yeah, keep me on track. I'll see if I can answer all of this.
There's a list.
There's a list there. So I'll start with the reservoir piece of it there. So yeah, we kind of went over that quickly in the presentation, but spot on. The reservoirs are full. Folsom is full, Oroville is full, Shasta is full, all down the state. That a couple of things. That was, some really good winters the last 2 or 3 years, and so they were maintaining capacity. And then he talked about this year, a lot of snow, it would melt, a lot of snow, it would melt, a lot of snow, it would melt. So the reservoir is filling up continually over the winter time as the snow would fall and melt. So yeah, we're in great shape in the reservoirs right now. I don't know how this works, but they're going to stop filling right now because the snow has already melted. So we'll see what they look like come fall, November, October, that kind of time frame. But for water content, we're in really good shape right now.
Yeah, I think that for a couple of weeks ago, I think I was driving by Folsom Lake on and off for a month. They've had 3 gates open consistently.
Yeah.
On that dam.
No, exactly. So next question, red flag, gotcha. So this part will be my opinion only. With the focus that we've got, and as good as we are starting to get with finite forecasting, meaning being very specific on the areas where the conditions are going to exist and trying to do something with that, whether we're going to pre-position resources there or restrict burning or make some other decision based on that kind of thing. Like I said, the weather service and the fire service is getting better and better and better collecting the data and doing those things. My only fear with something like hanging a big red flag above a county building is it doesn't give specifics. It just puts it out there like, hey, this is a dangerous day. And it doesn't kind of say what it is, where it is, any of those kind of things. If that would prime somebody to go actually then go look and educate themselves, it may be something like that. But that'd be my thought.
And then the last one was aerial attacking, the different types of aerial attacking.
Yeah, so what you're seeing out there right now, we're going through an annual drill right now. We're like, I think it's our military helicopter program where the National Guard helicopters are going through all of their preseason drills with bucket work and communications and all of those kind of things. So that's what you're seeing down there. So so as far as the available aircraft this year for the firefighting, we're getting more and more aircraft as we go through the years here. So Joe Tyler, our current director, when he was the deputy director of fire protection 8 or 9 years ago, had the foresight to realize that the Huey helicopters that we've had for 40 years weren't going to last forever. So they started a program to start purchasing the Black Hawk helicopters probably 10 or 11 years ago. And we're probably about 80% done with that. So most of our helicopters now are the Black Hawk. We're going through the night flying capabilities with all those helicopters right now. So we'll have 3 or 4 of them online this year for night flying capability. Next year, there'll be probably the rest of them. We're going to fill that gap with not all helicopters being nighttime capable this year with exclusive use contracts. And I think it was 19 across the state we're going to have there for night flying helicopters across the state. We're going to have one in Truckee, one in Grass Valley. There'll be one at McClellan. There's going to be one at Columbia down there. So this region is going to be very well covered by the exclusive use helicopters that CAL FIRE is putting on, I think, the Forest Service as well.
Forest Service, we still have our night flying helicopters too, or QRF as we call it.
QRF, yeah. So
quick reaction force.
Yeah. So another thing, CAL FIRE acquired, I think, 8 C-130s from the U.S. Coast Guard again several years ago and have gone through the process of retrofitting, tanking them, and all of those kind of things. Put the first one online last year at the end of the last fire season. We've got 2 online right now, and the third one should be flying by the end of fire season. The goal is to have, I think, all of them up in the air by the end of next year. So there's about a 4 or 5 month process to cut the plane open, put the tank in it, put all the firefighting systems into it, and put it back in the air. These planes were designed for military cargo, so they had to be redesigned and refitted for the wildland firefighting operation. Just personally, I am tickled to death with the C-130 program. They come with a capacity like we haven't seen before. So first of all, they're an initial attack aircraft, meaning they can just take off from the airport, fly to the fire, and drop. They don't need the air attack. They don't need anybody on the ground. They don't need those things. And they come with 4 times the retardant that our current SUs come with. They fly faster. They can fly into bigger canyons. They can fly higher. They can do all those things. So this is going to be the first year that we've had 2 of them out of McClellan. I want to see what those things can do when we're flying, when they're hitting a grass fire within 8 or 9 minutes of it starting. We're going to put 4,000 gallons of retardant on it. I'm curious what's going to happen with that. So we'll see.
Thank you.
And one last thing with the aircraft, Forest Service has recognized the conditions in the state, and we're bringing our aircraft on earlier than anticipated.
Excellent.
Yep.
Good job, guys.
I think I might.
Is it possible to get the slides and can we put them out to our email list for our fire safe councils? I don't know if they're, can we send them out to the public?
Presentation?
Yes. Yeah.
Presentation.
Yeah, that's what kind of thing.
Yeah.
Will be, this presentation will be, the website, so you can pull that part out. But yes, if CAL FIRE and Forest are good, we're happy to make the PowerPoint available as well. We'll get to put it on the website if that's.
Yeah. Good.
few more questions in the back.
Hi, David Young with Fire Zone Solutions. I noticed you had briefly mentioned Sacramento County and the fire load down there. Are they going to add Sacramento County to the fire maps at any point, or the valley? Or are there any talk about doing that? So the actual fire zone maps that we have.
Are you talking about the fire hazard severity zone maps?
Yes.
Yep, so the SRA maps came out last year, and the LRA maps are getting released. They got released last month, didn't they? They're already released, yeah. So those maps should be out. The LRA in Sacramento County, yeah.
It's just not.
Hi. I wanted to first commend CAL FIRE for all their great graphics and communication things that they're generating now that we use to help educate our assessor program and get out to the public. And I was wondering if if they're doing any kind of campaign to help alert folks to this coming season that we can use to help educate the public.
That's a great question. Our PIO obviously is not here right now. You're right on that. As CAL FIRE has committed a big workforce to the public education part of our campaign, all those kind of things. And what they've got going for the next month or two, I'm not 100% positive. We just finished up Wildfire Preparedness Week, which is a statewide campaign, kind of talking about the challenges of the fire season coming up and some of those kind of things. So I don't know if there's anything specific going to be changing on, our available materials and presentation stuff out there, kind of geared towards this fire season specifically. But yeah, I don't know if that helps or not.
Good morning, Tim Cordero, Elmira County Fire Chief, and representing the Elmira County Fire Chief Association. And I appreciate the partners from CAL FIRE and Forest Service kind of giving the overview of what their operations are. And I just want to give an insight on, at the local government level, with your local fire districts, how we fit into all this. We rely heavily and work closely with our partners, both at CAL FIRE and Forest Service. We have an annual meeting where we kind of go over a lot of this stuff and get down into the grassroots as to what things are going on, what they predict for the fire season, and how we fit in locally, whether it be at the sending out strike teams and things like that. We also work closely with CAL FIRE and Forest Service for backfilling stations and things. When they get into drawdown, you might see one of your local fire engines parked at a CAL FIRE station, backfilling, helping out. So there's a tremendous amount of cooperation that goes in. We fit into that. Nicely. And it's really, I think, as I hear, it's kind of unique in our county, and we're blessed and fortunate to be able to have that type of partnership with our folks. And Chief Lincoln, I'd have to give his opinion on the red flag, so you give my opinion on red flag. It's so unique. So I live locally. I live right outside of Placerville, and for me personally, generally when we have a normal fire season, I just operate as July 1st, it's red flag. And when they give the red flag warnings, okay, that kind of heightens a little bit, but just operate at home, just assuming it's red flag until it starts raining again. So thank you.
I was curious, a lot of the snow survey stations burned up in the Caldor fire and some of the other high elevation fires. Has that affected I know it affects the snowpack, whether it also affects kind of the readings and comparison with prior years, and what impact anyways that would have on future predictions?
So like the Caldor fire did burn over several snow survey areas. Biggest thing with that is that the survey, the plot is still there. We still use it. The biggest thing is the removal of all the vegetation around it, right? So we're losing that shading. So it's more direct solar radiation hitting the snow. It's melting faster. And that's what we're seeing. And I guess you could call it, skewing numbers, because the snow is there, but it's going to melt quicker with a lack of vegetation. That's why I tell everybody that works for the Forest Service, I'm like, you think we're in the logging business or the water business? Because in reality, we're in the water business in the state of California, because the majority of our water comes off of national forest land into the reservoirs. And that's what, with the Mediterranean climate, like Chief Lincoln and I talked about, that's what gets us through summer with our water supply. So if we can keep the shade on the slopes and keep the snow on the hills longer, that's just going to help everybody out with water. But yeah, we are seeing that. It has made some adjustments. And like Chief Lincoln was saying about everything we got left this year, if it's on the north slope or the high elevation, there's still snow on it. But other than that, it's pretty dry out, even up on Carson Pass. I mean, the sage is exposed, which is usually still under a couple feet of snow at this point.
We've still got a couple of minutes. Folks have that. We're question, we just double check online as well. The question about is there a local sort of summary of fire season conditions? And it was also a question that was online. And I guess what I would commit to is, or I'll commit up people to is, we'll sit down with Tanya from the public representative officer, coordinating the public outreach group and other partners and see if there's something we want to do. It's always hard because a lot of information is basically the same. Hey, it's bad, you got to do it. If there's something different that we think is helpful, that articulates maybe solutions this year, we'll chat about that and see.
Yeah, I guess we want to just apply this whole thing to where we're kind of sitting right now is everything we talked about in there about where the kind of the region is and the state is, that is 100% applicable to where we're sitting right now. We see it anecdotally when we drive around. We see the tall grass crop. We see how it's drying out. We see the flowers on the brush right now and some of those kind of things. And in 4 or 5 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, the flowers are going to be gone off the brush and that kind of thing. So everything we talked about here is specific to El Dorado County and the Amador El Dorado unit. The climate and the vegetation that we have here are representative of the region around us. So we are in the boat of what this presentation was. It is going to get very dry, very hot here, and the brush and the grass and the timber are going to be very available to burn come July, August this year. So whether or not we get ignitions and we have a lot of fires and that kind of thing, that has to be determined. That's always the crapshoot, if you will. Do we get the ignitions? Do we get the lightning events and some of those kind of things? If we get those things this year in this county, Amador County, and places around here, we're going to have the fires that we're fearing that we're going to have. The fuels are going to be ready to burn this year. So if we get the ignitions at the right time in the right spots, we're going to have fires this year. Right? Yeah. Yep.
Are either CAL FIRE or the Forest Service gearing up to have full-time mitigation crews? I mean, we can get Growlersburg out, we can get the tribe out, but any chance you'll have full-time mitigation, not just fire response, but full-time mitigation crews?
It's a great question for CAL FIRE. The Forest Service already has fuels programs and all of those kind of things. So Ryan can speak to that in a second. CAL FIRE primarily has been built as a suppression agency, where most of the stuff we have, most of our funding, most of the equipment we have has come to us, and it's been towards the fire suppression side of things, and rightfully so. I think we've all kind of heard this over the last couple of years that we're not going to suppress our way out of this. The fuel problem is too great right now. There's got to be a whole nother focus on the fire prevention side. So CAL FIRE's been around for a long time, and my opinion, we're kind of just starting to scratch the surface on what we can do with the fire prevention, the fuel reduction, a lot of those kind of things. We're going through a major staffing model change right now with the state, and it's going to take 3 or 4 years to do the hiring, get all those things said and done out of it. But we're going to add 2,500 people or something like that to the CAL FIRE workforce. What that's going to look like, I don't know moving forward. There's all kinds of ideas. One of the big challenges that CAL FIRE has in the fire prevention, fuel reduction game, and some of those kind of things is we are not landowners. Everything we do is done in partnership with somebody else. So for us to put on, full-time fuels crews and a lot of those kind of things, we've got to make sure that we've got, the landowner partnerships out there to put those guys to work on a day-to-day basis. So we're going through all those struggles right now and figuring out where we're going to go with that. The other philosophy out there is do we go with more of a private contractor mentality where we fund and hire people to do the field work? So I don't know where we're going to land on all these things. But the discussion is happening as it's happening right here in this room, in this group right here. It's happening on a statewide level too. So it's a phenomenal question. I think the answer to that question is going to kind of determine how the next few years go here. And the CAL FIRE is very aware of the mandate that we've received from the people, the legislature on that kind of thing, that fuel reduction, fire prevention is going to be a thing, is necessary.
And for the Forest Service side of that, we do have a robust fuels program mixed with a combination of, we got contract stuff, and we also have agreements with Chief Lincoln crews, and we're doing a lot better work across boundaries and employing their guys when they need help on stuff, or vice versa, to make sure we're blending our edges and matching up where we can on our
You hired Sierra Pacific.
Yeah, SPI did. The Forest Service did enter into an agreement with Sierra Pacific Industries, I think, for the region. I think it was a $70 million contract for the state of California.
we're almost finished, but you prompted me in thinking about the management of this situation. At this point, you're our spokespeople today, but I'm sure there are many, many people behind you, and you even talked about the PowerPoint presentation and being able to have people help you get this together. Talk about, just for the next maybe 30 seconds to a minute, about the management aspect. At what level then are the decisions being made in order to be able to make the changes necessary that you've talked about today? That is, you got to be adjusting on the fly, but at the same time, you got to be thinking fire science and and resources in order to support that. Can you kind of tie that together?
Yeah, so at that level, that philosophy, those decisions, those kind of things come that I would probably think like the CAL FIRE director, legislature, natural resources agency kind of a level. So those are kind of department wide, philosophical kind of things. So I said this, that we're not going to suppress our way out of this challenge that we're in right now by 100%. We have to start focus efforts on the fire prevention side of things, about preventing the fire from starting. But I got to say this too, for the next probably 5 or 10 years, until we can be extremely effective with the prevention side, the fuel reduction side of things too, we are not going to masticate our way out of either. We're not going to hardy plank our way out of either. Those two things, the suppression side and the prevention side, have to go together for the next bunch of years or so. The mandate for our department, the challenge for our department, is how to figure those things out. And right now, what we have as a department is suppression resources. We don't have a department that's built for the fire prevention side of things. So we're going through that process right now, trying to retool what we have, and as we add capacity, making sure we're adding the capacity on the fire prevention fuel reduction side of things. And those are department level kind of decisions.
Just a quick follow-up.
Yep.
I was going to follow up on.
So
go ahead. You kind of got me on the fire science side of that. That's right. That's right.
Chris, with your follow-up, then we're gonna wrap up and segue.
But I wanted to say something about you.
Oh, you know. No, wait.
Just to
I want this about
the cooperation piece, CAL FIRE. So the CAL FIRE Amador El Dorado unit, the El Dorado National Forest, and the Lake Tahoe Basin Management Unit, we are currently working on a joint interagency fire danger operating plan. Right now, we're all dispatched out of the same center, and there's 3 different fire danger operating plans. AEU has one, El Dorado National Forest has one, Lake Tahoe Basin has one. We're working together with an enterprise team to actually combine these 3 into one giant plan, which is actually going to give us better all over situational awareness as a whole for the entirety of the area. So that's a piece that I'm into. That's my lane.
Thank you for that.
What I wanted to say about Ken is that he has brought us into the modern age. We believe collectively this group here that you're talking to today is the best in the state. And it's because of his leadership that we have learned so much about the broader science, the notion of statewide, how government ties into all of this. And you represent that today. So I just want to thank you for your efforts in doing that.
Thank you, Chris, but
Appreciate it.
Team of people are maturing through. So really what we did today is teeing us up for what we want to do next month. And we're going to, in June, and we've heard this loud and clear from a lot of folks, we don't understand what a type 3 engine is or a type 1, or what does all that mean? How does it work? And so we're going to organize our June meeting around what I sort of call it Fire Service 101. But Ryan, Chief Blankenheim will engage Chief Cordero and our Office of Emergency Services. We're going to put together a program next month that walks us through how does the response to wildfire happen in California. And we'll keep it at we'll keep it at a basic level, but it's really going to start at the big picture and then work right down to how does that work here in El Dorado County. And they touched on a lot of it today. But they really want to, we'll bring a couple of fire engines out here so you can see the difference when we keep saying numbers and we hear jargon and we look at a state, that has 100 million acres of land to protect. Well, how is that divided up, or how does that work? So stay tuned, because we're going to coordinate probably a barbecue event. We're going to really make next month more of an interactive piece. And of course, we'll have elections, because Angel won't let us out of the room to do without elections. I really want to thank both Chief Blankenheim and Chief Wagner for coming today and spending as much time as they did. Definitely appreciate what our local fire districts, how they're all integrated into this, and our other public safety officials, our law enforcement. It is truly a team effort, and I just appreciate you all taking the time at what's obviously going to come up to be that busy time of year. So thank you both again for doing that. And obviously, guys are welcome to stay, but slip out whenever you need to. But see Tanya Harlow on your way out. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. So yes, as I said, we'll post the PowerPoint on the our website, probably on the section where we post the minutes. And the video of the meeting, so they'll both be there, but you can also actually see the video there as well. So we have no old business, so moving into informational items, just a couple of things really quick on the chair's report. As I indicated in an email, we had some staffing changes, and without getting into a lot of detail, I will simply say, as we've been working through, forming a new position as an executive coordinator, we've learned a lot, and as we were moving through that process, all I can say is when the person that we interviewed was not really the person that showed up at the door, and we learned a lot. And what's important for us is that it has to work for all parties. We are an organization that's doing a lot at the grassroots level, and some of it's complicated, but at the end of the day, we need the right person and the right people working to ensure it's really reflecting what we all do and supporting all of us. Really, all I'm going to say there with Jen Turner moving on, we are going to really take a pause and spend a lot of time researching and doing the work, and it's going to involve probably talking to many of you for who's out there. This is not just go to a hiring web and find a person. We really want the right fit for all of us. So I'm going to say we'll be reaching out to all of you individually or in groups to really start looking at if there's folks out there that would be that fit. But the good news in all of this is Jessica Isabel has been able to return to the fire conference. We are beyond super excited about that, having her back, and she has she dove into the office there right away and is working on the assistance programs. And so I know we're looking at needing information for Firewise renewals, all of that. Jessica's well into all of that. So just give her a little bit of patience as she ensures that the spreadsheets are up to date and is working. So, but she's here. Reach out to Jessica. Same emails and same phone number. That I'll turn it over to Vice Chair report. Dorothy, have fun.
Hello.
First regarding, I'm going to start calling it IT. I apologize for our website being launched, and I said, best of luck, I'm done on that piece and moving on to the data management. That was not very appropriate. What we do have with our new website is we've got a great foundation. It gives us opportunity to expand and create some new things. But right off the bat, people were, where are the forms? The forms and our area is on the homepage all the way down to resources materials. That's kind of where our fire safe area or fire what are we called?
Safe Council.
Yes, Fire Safe Council. Anyway, that's our area and down to the bottom. So you want to look in forms or down under resource materials. Bottom. Tap onto that one and it takes you to a plethora of new areas that we will expand. So I do apologize for that because once that got launched in the same process, we're looking at data management, which means the back end process, the process that Jessica and Carrie work on, our applications programs. The system that they're working off of right now was built in 2016. If you think of your cell phone and how it has progressed over these years, and the cost has also progressed with new phones that you have gotten. There's been many changes. So they're working off of an old system that's clunky, that much is done manually. It's not efficient. It's not effective. So we're in the process. Paul, Jessica, and I have been looking into other companies. So this is a to be continued conversation. I wanted to give you kind of a heads up as to what's been happening with that. That we're looking for a system that allows us for expansion to tie in, say, with mapping to go with the county. We also want to make sure that it just is a better, faster system and saves on our manpower so we can direct our manpower, which would be Jessica and Carrie at this point, to be doing other things, to be more effectively helping out, having the time to be able to help us volunteers in our fire safety councils. So that's it. However, understand there is going to be a sticker shock because prices have increased. We always have the option to be able to stay where we are, but we think in the organization's best interest and to be thinking of our mission to be able to be moving along with just what we've heard that's going on in the whole area of fire and fire suppression and information. We want to be able to see if our IT system can keep up with that. So the e-board will be getting a presentation in June of the companies we've been researching and what we found and some recommendations. We're going to put a pause of a month to 2 months, July or August, and then come back. That would allow us to make sure that we're asking all the right questions and looking, because again, money's involved. And when Janet gets her report, you'll see that, you know, money's tight everywhere. And we want to make sure that we're finding the best system for the cheapest price, or do we stick with what we have? So those will be options that we want to make sure to look at after it goes to the e-board for the second time. Then hopefully we'll be able to bring it to the full board for input, questions, and such. So I just wanted to keep you apprised versus, hey, guess what? This is what it was that I did on the website. And end of report.
Question?
Yes, Hassan.
So I'm a little. Yeah, sorry, we have to, step to the mic.
Thank you, Hassan.
I have to turn it on.
Technology.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Are you talking differently about the internal house IT system and the website, or are they both
With the website, we have, well, how the IT works is we have our input, we have our processing, which is the application and such, and the data output. The data output being the reports, programs, things for that we need to, all the information we need to capture for our grants, current and future. The website that we have is the front end. Okay, it shows us our kind of day-to-day sorts of things. The back end or process and output, which we call the data management piece, is the pieces that have to do with the programs. That is bigger and more expensive, because what that means is we need somebody to manage it. But first we have to have somebody build out our system. And so when we're looking at who would be managing it, does it have extra capacities and tie-ins such as mapping, bringing on new programs. Currently our programs do not include, we don't have the applications in the system regarding our home assessment programs. There's information that can be captured there, but we don't have, as the current system sits, we don't have any capacity to capture that information. So that's what we're looking at. So they're kind of like two different systems in a way.
So, and just to clarify, when she says IT, it's really focused on just the 3 programs, the assistance programs. So defensible space, chipping, and hazard tree removal. It's an automated process. So when you go to the website, the front end, the resident puts their application in online. That information then goes into the system. And what Dorothy's referring to, the system, the back end of that is all of that, where the data is being collected, addresses, contractor information, all of that then processes job assignments. On the back end, Jessica uses all that information to assign out jobs, process all of that. It's become more and more automated. They get emails generated from this. The whole idea is you're gathering all the information. So when we send invoices to contractors, we collect invoices, all their addressing is already in this whole system. So it can provide that billing, we can provide checks, We can locate landowners, we can track where we're working. You know, the next phases of this are to have a GIS layer so we can actually, when Jessica's working in the office, she can geo-reference where the jobs are and then more efficiently assign contractors that are more appropriately located close. So all of this is happening sort of in the back end, and it's been evolving as the volume of work has gone up. So the work that's been going on separate from the website refresh has been building a robust data management platform so that we can handle the volume of work that's coming in through those programs. So they're two separate and distinct things, but they're integrated because of course they all happen through the front end on the website. So we're waiting for the proposal to come back to see what the working group that Dorothy has chaired to see what that would look like and what the potential costs and what the build out look like. And we all have to make some decisions on what we want to do with that.
But that wouldn't be on site. You usually would contract with a cloud service kind of thing.
Well, that's part of what, we don't want to get into the detail, we'll wait for them to tell us, but yes, we are going to hire staff to do that part. We will hire somebody to build that, whatever that looks like, how that's stored.
If that's the direction that we go.
Yes, we don't know. And so if this, all we wanted to do today was have Dorothy let you know, this is where we're getting to in the process, and we will come back to everybody. Janine.
Oh, quick question on the training for the websites for the associate councils.
Yes.
So I haven't done that yet, and I actually got somebody on our board to volunteer to build our website a little bit more robust than it is now. So can anybody do that on our boards for our fire safety councils? Or is it one person, two people can do this, or all of us?
At this point in time, if you're using the web pages for our associate councils, if you go down at the very bottom of the homepage and you go over to the right-hand section, it says developed by or powered by Streamline, and then there's a slash and a sign in. So if you click on the Streamline side, you can go ahead and it takes you to just follow the pages as you go in, and then it will put you that you can set up time with Streamline to start to build out if you want web pages. Now, if you have an independent website, then we will continue to keep your link to your website. But if you're using the free web pages that can be built out extensively through Streamline,
we have a very primitive one right now. It says more information to come. But anyway, we're gonna work on this and get something set up. So we don't have an independent
we
one.
communicate then to
Okay.
if you have a website itself and not to use the web pages. But what this does is it gives us options right at this point.
So you had in the email that you sent out, you had a link there and it said to sign up for training. I can still do that.
You can do that or go straight to the website itself.
Okay.
Down bottom right, Streamline, click on that and it will take you through to the schedule.
Thanks.
Thank you. And you can have Dorothy resend that email, folks needed as a refresher, but yeah, I think all that information was in there. And I think Chris had a question, and remember, we don't want to get too far in the weeds today on this, but
Ken doesn't want me to get out of control. Which I've been trying over the last few months not to be out of control. I wanted to put it in other words. We don't see it on old business or new business as a topic so that we can spend more time on it. That doesn't mean that it's not important to the executive board and I just want them to know that. But we can place it on old business or new business in the future when we need to. And I was going to say, as an example, was the strategic plan effort. That was a number of almost a year of pieces coming together where we could finally make a board decision. That's the intent here, isn't it? Okay. Can you say that?
They have a plan that we've been working on, and although I haven't said much during each of the meetings, we've been investigating for months different companies, what they can give us, and we just want to make sure that what we're doing is as efficient and effective, best, most least inexpensive, and most comprehensive that we can get. It may be our current system, it may be another system that we build out that has a sticker cost to it. So this is definitely A to be continued conversation. Okay, well, thank you. But I thought instead of just saying, here's the website, nobody knew what was happening at the back end. I want to make sure to do that. Sorry, Ken, this took long.
Did it effect?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, passing on.
All right.
Any other questions? Good, thank you.
And thank you, Dorothy, for your ongoing efforts to shepherd that process. Next up, Secretary Report, Angel.
So we're having some elections, and that would be for the director positions and the executive board positions. I have received several nominations, and I am going to ask you now if there are any verbal nominations from the floor for any, state your name and the position that you would like to nominate yourself for.
All positions are open, remember.
Yes, all positions are open. Seeing nobody standing up or any raising hands, I am going to let you know that if you change your mind between now and midnight, you may email me. And I'll close the nominations effective midnight tonight. And then in the next couple of days, I'll get ballots out to the directors for voting. And we will announce the winners at the June meeting, whenever that is. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Angel.
It was.
Next up, Janet Barris, the Treasury Report.
Good morning, everybody. The treasurer's report is part of the board packet, so hopefully you all have had an opportunity to take a look at it. The reports, the year-to-date expense report for the Fire Safe Council and the page for the grants are as of March 31st. We have kind of delayed a month in our reporting because of the way the calendar fell earlier in the year. So we are reporting as of the end of the prior month. So nothing is out of the ordinary or extraordinary in this report. We're starting to get in a lot of as the quarterly reports have gone into our reports, we're starting to get our quarterly influx of fiscal sponsor fees. So you can see in March there was $8,000 there. In April there will be more of that coming in, but nothing out of the ordinary. If you go ahead and scroll down to the grants page now, I do recognize that while it's still sitting here, the CAL FIRE Defensible Space grant under the Defensible Space section, that grant has been closed out. We, as I mentioned last month, spent almost every penny of that, which I was really excited about. And thank you, Tamara, for all the activity reporting. We kind of split this up. She does the activity reporting, I do the financial reporting. So that grant is closed out, and this week we actually received our final payment. So that is a closed out grant and will fall off probably in June. The Forest Service grants, there's two different kinds of Stevens Authority grants. There's a 20 fiscal year, the 20 CA grants and the 22 CA grants. The 20 CA grants are also done. The RCD has completed that work, and I'm working with the Forest Service to get the final billing of that in. And we are working with the Forest Service on the chipping grant for that 20 CA grant to see if we can get an extension. And it sounds like that has been submitted for us. So as soon as we get word on that, I will let you know. So with that, that is the end of my report for the current treasurer's report. David.
So Janet, I keep seeing the cash going down, and is that because people are not paying the receivables after we've done the work?
Can you hear me? So the cash goes down quarterly and we bill quarterly. So I'll get, for example, January, February, March, we'll pay out to our contractors, whether they be individual contractors through our programs or the RCD. And then in the end of March and April, I'll do the quarterly billing to our grants. So every quarter we get an influx of cash, and monthly the cash draws down based on monthly activity.
So our receivables are in good shape, including the State Fire Safe Council. Are they paying?
With the exception of the State Fire Safe Council for the communication grant. That one we, and Tamara can provide an update during her report on where that is, but we have not received any cash from them at this point in time.
Thank you.
Any questions for Janet on the March 31st Treasurer's Report? Okay, that is a board action item, so no further questions. All those in favor of approving the report as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Double checking online. Okay. That's all. Treasurer's Report approved as presented. All right, part 2 is the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. I placed it on the May board meeting as an action item, so that's a month earlier than normal, but we also introduced it a month earlier. We've got a lot going on at next month's meeting, and 2, Janet is going to be unavailable. So I didn't want to answer all the questions next month. So anyway, we're happy to have it. Obviously, if folks have concern, we can postpone that, but we've had it out for a month, and Janet's made updates from the last meeting based on input that she received from all of you. So with that, I'll turn it over to her and we'll discuss.
So we talked last month that we wanted to have a little more in-depth discussion on the treasurer's report. And there's been some changes since this treasurer's report has been provided to you. So this report considers that the executive coordinator is filled for the full year. So it because we'll be going through at some point a recruitment process, but it'll be a little later in the year. There may be savings in that executive coordinator line item. I did not change the administrative support line. We assumed that our ladies would be here all year, and thankfully they are. So we appreciate that. The contract support line basically is our contract with Tamara for her grants work, along with other contracts such as 24-hour tech. We've talked about whether our contract for 24-hour tech should be under the computer line, and I may move it later, but the budget for it would just be moving from one place to another. But the anticipated budget is based on what our contract with 24-hour tech is. If this budget includes the fact that we are going to be having an audit every year going forward, because our grantors now require us to have an audit every year. So where we were doing one every other year, that amount is now anticipated annually. Looking down, our rent has gone up because we did pick up a new office space in our 515 Main Street office, anticipating the executive coordinator. We've now moved Jessica in that office temporarily, so she's very excited about that. At which you should know that she will be having office hours. If anybody wants to come see her, she'll be in the office. The good news is based on the audiovisual equipment that we have put into this building, we have developed a relationship here that we are free of rent here for the next 3 years. So that is also reflected. The increase in insurance is ever so slight, and that is due to discussions that I've had with Angel on what we anticipate our insurance being going forward. Beyond that, everything is pretty much status quo, budget to budget. If you look, we have increased over the year, and that increase is mainly attributable. I say mainly attributable to the fact that we have added a budget for the executive coordinator position. So with that, I open up for questions. David. Hi, Alice.
Hello, just a quick question. So this is the expense side. Do we ever see the income side?
The income side is reported monthly on the Fire Safe Council sheet. That's only for our fiscal sponsor fees. This does indicate at the bottom at this point in time, we have an uncollected fiscal sponsor fee amount of $722,000 for the grants that we have. So there is money that will be coming in through 2029 based on the grants that we have.
Thank you.
Anything online?
Still checking with David.
Any other questions on that? I'll leave you alone. Okay.
All right.
I can tell you that both Tamara and Janet continue to work on opportunities out there with our grants, and hopefully it will be some things we can report on in the future that further enhance some of the things that we're doing. But I'll leave that up to Tamara and Janet down the road to discuss that. So with that, I'm not seeing any further questions. So like to I hear a motion to approve the budget, the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26 as presented by Janet.
I move.
You make the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
David, second. Any other comments? Okay,
David, you're now complicit.
all those in favor of approving the budget as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? I'm saying thumbs up online. Also, budget proposal for 25-26 is approved as presented. And again, huge thank you to Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Yeah. It was not an easy process.
So two other things before we leave the treasurer's report. The assistance programs, I know you all are very excited about the stipend process for the assistance programs, but you've not seen a dime show up in your account, and that is my fault. I've been working on these other things. Carrie has developed the process for the policy related to the assistance program, stipend program, and we will be finalizing that. I promise you by the next e-board meeting, we will have the policy before the e-board for approval. And she's also given me the number of assessments through March 31st, I think. And I will be working on transferring that over the next couple of weeks. So that is coming your way. And then finally, the audit, I have heard from our auditor. She is drafting our final report. I know that Ernie was asking me about the one associate counsel that she did ask for transactions from was Grizzly, and there were no return questions. So everything she must have gotten from Grizzly Flats must have met her.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah. So I will be reaching back out to her to get that finalized, hopefully by the end of this month, because we'll start our next audit on July 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Well, and it goes without saying, but I just really want to recognize Carrie as well. You keep hearing Carrie's name come up a lot more because we're really putting a lot more things in her direction. The assessment program, which you'll hear about with the training here in a bit, but just she's on the back end of it, taking the calls and building the tracking, and that volume of work is going up, and giving her lots of other things to do, and really appreciate what you're doing in there. Oftentimes nobody sees it, but we do. So thank you. With that, sorry, good.
This is on. Hello. Concerning the audit, because the comment just made about Grizzly, is there something we should be preparing or maintaining for audits that the Associate Fire Safety Council might show up?
So each year, shortly after July 1st, I reach out to all of you and ask for your profit and loss report. And that is what I provide to the auditor for her to pull transactions from. It's also what I provide to our tax accountant to include in our taxes, is the information from your profit and loss. Also, as you guys ask for reimbursements, that goes into our main accounting system, and so they may pull stuff from that too. From the auditor could pull from one of those reimbursements, like for title free, they may come back to you for follow-up information. But at this point, she hasn't. But the main thing that you provide me is the profit and loss in July.
Okay, so it's not the grants or some the bigger. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lester. All right. Thank you, Janet. Moving on to partners reports. And so as you heard, we made a slight amendment. We want to move Ryan Carter with the city of Placerville, the city council. Ryan, step on up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just quick introduction, Ryan Carter. I am on Placerville City Council, also a board member for Pioneer Community Energy. And I just wanted to make the council aware of a new funding opportunity that Pioneer just announced through one of their contractors, Calpine. It's a Calpine community benefit. It covers all of Pioneer service area, which is the entirety of the western slope of El Dorado County. This new program will be opening up on June 2nd for the first year. It will be an annual competitive process, and I will work with Tamara to get her the information. I thought you guys were well positioned. It's exclusive to 501c3s. One of the aspects that they're looking at is wildfire mitigation. It's project specific, and I think that in El Dorado County, we have a good nexus with EID, which is a large power provider to Pioneer. And so I think that this council is well positioned to be competitive in this process. And so I wanted to let you guys know that that's coming up, and it will be an annual thing moving forward, getting larger every year, hopefully. And so, like I said, just want to make you guys aware of that, and I will work with Tamara to get some more information, but that is some new money that is coming available to local people for wildfire mitigation. The current year is going to be $63,000, so it's not a whole lot of money first year, but the awards are up to $25,000, and they're looking at, I think, up to 6 recipients, and that is through all of Pioneer service area. And so hard to say how this first year is going to go, but it is going to be continuing and growing every year moving forward. So
great. Any other questions for Ron? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you
very much. Okay, I don't see any from BLM online. Anybody in the room that I'm missing? All right, next up, it's Megan Sheeline for CAL FIRE.
Come over here to the official podium.
Yes, we're.
Hi, good morning. For those of you that I don't know, I'm Megan Sheeline. I'm the unit forester for CAL FIRE's Amador El Dorado unit. I just have a few brief things to share this morning. In grant news, the forest health grants that have been applied for this year, the awards are expected to be announced in the next couple of weeks, hopefully next week or the next 2 weeks. There's going to be $72 million across the state awarded for forest health grants. And so I know there were some applications from our area, and hopeful that some of those will be awarded this year. That's from our statewide or our Sacramento headquarters grant program. So we don't manage those grants, but we're very supportive of them. And then for the wildfire prevention grants, the latest news is that the application period will hopefully open in June. So that's coming up soon. So be thinking about your applications and hopefully sooner than later on that one. And then while we're still in the spring weather phase here a little bit before all the fuels get very cured, we're going to be doing a lot of grass burns in our unit. We've got 1,000 acres of grass burns planned for June. A couple of those are for trainings and classes for the fire investigation class and for the firing operations class, and then just regular unit operations and prescribed burning. That's in my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Questions for Megan? I know we got. She's looking this way and you're over there, but that's Lester. we'll work through this.
Quick question. The draft CWPP is out for comments and whatnot. And one of the things I noticed was in the section at the very end of various projects, it lists the lead agency and then other involved agencies or organizations. From CAL FIRE for applying for the wildfire prevention funds, if the applicant is not the lead agency, would that have an effect on the competitiveness, or is that something that we need to be kind of thinking about when it comes to grant proposals?
No, I don't think that really plays into grant awards. The lead agency has to do with who's going to complete CEQA. I think that is maybe what you're asking on a project.
Actually, I'm not sure what the intent is of that, of identifying. My sense was it was who was gonna kind of take the lead on applying for grants or for leading efforts.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so I can follow up on that for you. So that's really in fact what it's for. It wasn't to imply who's going to apply for grants, but more importantly, just it needed to fall somewhere. So it didn't, as we're tracking accomplishments and ensuring we're getting the work done that we all put in the plan, we needed it to land somewhere so that at least somebody was, we had somebody to point to help track those pieces. But I don't think it's going to affect who applies for the grants. I think those are all the discussions we will continue to have, just like we do now, about who's going to be, you know, putting in those grants. We just needed to have somebody responsible so it didn't fall through the cracks.
Thanks.
Other questions for me? All right, thank you, May. Next up, small farm parents. Where's it? You can look.
You can't look.
To look at you. Hi, Tanya Harlow, Fire Safe Coordinator in Owhopper. I'll try to be quick here. So just to start off, you probably noticed on the agenda, it just says my name and not minor anymore. As you all are well aware, we went through some budget changes within the county. The good, very, very good news is that Tom is still with the county. He is moving to a different department. He'll still have the same title, still being a program manager, and he'll be over in EMS. So he's going to use all of his super smart skills in another department, and we will miss him. We're adjusting and trying to figure out who's doing what, but we will figure it out. And then the bad news is you still get me forever. Okay, so DSpace update. So that means I got to do these numbers. The DSpace update is for January through March. Our 2 inspectors accomplished 149 inspections in the the county emphasis areas, 49 inspections that were complaint driven, and 63 real estate inspections. Firewise, we are at a total of 41 Firewise communities right now on the western slope. In the last quarter, so from January through March, we had 5 new ones, and in this quarter, we're going to have a ton more. Firewise is really ramping up. It needs to keep ramping up because there's a lot of empty spaces in the county. But for example, Pollock Pines, there was, I see Sherry online, and Hassan, I see you over there. Pollock Pines has a couple Firewise communities spread around, but there's a lot of gaps. Well, they all got together and they took the entire Pollock Pines community and divided it up, and so it's like 4 Firewise communities now and covers the entire area. So that's a really good method of doing it. It's so that'll be coming up, and of course Bob has his empire of Firewise communities out there. Will be,
Yeah, he can hear you.
hi Bob. Will be also getting, I'm sure they'll reach designation within the next couple months. So Firewise is doing good. Weber Creek is still in its environmental stuff. Jenny just started attending Placerville Fire Safe Council's monthly meeting so that she'll be able to give updates on what's happening on the Weber Creek project. And she's also starting to do stakeholder outreach and starting to get the stakeholders engaged. So moving along with that. Public outreach, always very busy, especially this last month. Our team, we were at the Placerville Wildfire Safety Day, the Home and Garden Show, the Eldorado Hills Community Event, which was in Sterlingshire, and was another community. There was Strawberry had a lovely community event. The Eldorado Hills had an evacuation simulation, which OES will talk about. And we have been at all of those, talking and trying to get the information out. Wildfire Awareness Season campaign is still in full swing. All of the agencies are completely engaged with posting the messages. County Fire, the PI over there is just killing it. I feel like we're in competition because he'll post stuff and I'm like, oh, you beat us. So he's really, really good. Elizabeth, like you'd mentioned, how do we educate? I just want to remind all the fire safe councils, all of your agencies are posting the information.
go on there, post them to your individual Fire Safe Council, Facebook pages, website, all the information's out there. You just gotta share it. And then just to follow up on your question, that's how this works, right? So if there's an issue that we're like, here's a gap with public outreach, we need to get this information out. We take it to the public outreach group and we figure it out. So that will be discussed next week at public outreach group, the presentation that was given today. Yes.
Can you hear? Oh, so just for clarification, you're saying the posting it out there, is that all on Facebook? Is it on what other platform I don't know anything about? Are we Snapchatting now, or are we WhatsApping? Where are we? Because I'm lost in the ether out here. So
I think really Snapchat to follow our kids, right? But Facebook is the primary one. We do, if you don't have a Facebook, that is something we need to talk about in public outreach, is figuring out how to get information to, so that everybody has a way to share it. If all you have is a website, we need to figure out a way for you to get your message out on your website. So it'll go on the agenda for next week. Definitely something we'll talk about. So please when you talk about that stuff, keep talking about that. Talk about it with Dorothy and Angel and me, and we'll make sure that we're doing it. And just on a side note with public outreach, this is working. Over the weekend, we were in Strawberry, Chief Cordero was there, and Captain Pagansky was giving his thing, and Chief Cordero gets up and talks about rape. That's his soapbox. He gets up there and he talks about rape, and he does that wherever he is, because I've seen it. And then we were at the El Dorado Hills evacuation event, and during one of the questionings, somebody brought up D-Space, and somebody from the back of the room from OES, nobody had brought up D-Space yet. They were just talking about evacuations, and somebody from OES in the back of the room started talking about D-Space and how important D-Space was. So everybody's saying the same thing. I always say that, and it is actually working. So lastly, no, I don't. The CWPP has been released for public review. It was released on May 9th. Last day for public comment is June 9th. It is on the website. There is 2 virtual workshops. We had one last night. It was pretty well attended. I think we had about 20 people on there. And we will have our second one next week, Thursday the 29th. It's from 6 to 7. The Zoom link for that public workshop is on our website as well. Just as a reminder, after public comment closes, we will be spending the next few weeks finalizing and making sure all of the comments are incorporated, and we've answered everybody's questions, and then it will be ready for adoption by the Board of Supervisors on sometime mid-July. So we are here. We are here. We did it. Almost. Yes, Elizabeth.
I'll stop bugging you eventually. Sorry. Last month you mentioned you and your bigger working group had developed like a monthly outreach campaign with different topics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if being so busy this last month I missed it, but you mentioned you were going to send that out because we'd like within our local Fire Safe Council to be able to amplify that message each month. So that's something we had talked about in our local council, coming up with a monthly message. And if you've already done that, I don't want to recreate the wheel.
Nope, I didn't. I forgot.
Okay.
I will. Thank you for the reminder. I will go write it down right now.
Is it working? No. Yeah. So with a big push for Firewise and covering all the areas, I understand that. Are we doing a similar push at all with Fire Safe Councils? Because I know for us, we are both a Fire Safe Council and a Firewise. And by far and away, the most benefit we get is from being a Fire Safe Council, things like this group and the grants and all that kind of stuff. Not that Firewise isn't helpful too, but a huge part of our education and everything is done because we're a Fire Safe Council. And so, and yet there's this big push at the county to get more Firewise. And so I'm trying to see how that's working. That's one question.
Well, I'm going to let you have it. just, our office, myself and Richie are the regional coordinators for Firewise, so of course, and Firewise is obviously nationwide, so that is definitely something that we need because you're right, there is a lot of more benefit, I don't want to say more. There's a lot of benefit in being part of a Fire Safe Council. There's also this really real small community level of engagement in Firewise communities. So they do have their differences, and obviously there's insurance involved in Firewise, but they're both important. We do push for Firewise because that is something that we're supposed to do. But we work very closely, obviously, with Fire Safe Council, and Angel is going to take over now and talk about that part.
So when somebody comes to me and asks me about becoming a Fire Safe Council or Firewise, we talk about both the benefits of both. And I invite them to attend our meetings and see what we're about to decide. Is it right for their community to be just Firewise for now, or to be Fire Safe Council? And we kind of talk about that, and then I work with them in conversations. And the conversation also then may be, I come to Oak Hill and say, I have a community over here that wants to be part of. They're going to be Firewise, and they want to be part of your Fire Safe Council. So I hope I'm answering the question, but it is a conversation, and it's bigger than just some sort of roadmap or process. It is a conversation. So could that help? Yes.
If I can add one more thing. So it seems like, from our perspective, that what we're trying to do is grow our Fire Safe Councils by just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That we're trying to use the Firewise to do the smaller communities. And I think that might be a mistake, because I know for us, smaller, you get higher percentage of participation. And so getting these giant Fire Safe Councils isn't necessarily beneficial in my opinion.
Yeah, it goes both ways, Alice. And right now we're in a testing phase because Colombo Lotus is going big and it's working for them. And maybe it doesn't work for others. So it's a process, it's a growth, it's grassroots, it's trying to get people to get along, which sometimes is a challenge too. So that's really all I can.
And some of it's area specific, and that is taken into account. And there's also limitations on how large a Firewise community can be. And so geographically, the area may be huge, but the population is huge along with that. So it seems like it's a simple system, but it's ever changing in each area, just like we always need to do. Look to see what factors are involved in that. Awesome.
Both programs are accomplishing the same thing, which is a grassroots community effort to get information out on wildfire resiliency. So whatever is working for a community, that's what they need to do.
Okay, can we? No.
Push the button up towards you.
Yeah, and you can almost leave it on when you're done too. Yeah.
Okay, does that work?
Yep.
That leads me to a question that I can't get out of my head, and that is there any possibility that NAFTA can recognize communities that have active fire safe councils as a Firewise community? I mean, I know that's maybe a big stretch, but when we say they both work together, and we're doing everything we can to communicate with homeowners, but we're in a very big community.
So here's a question. So NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, is responsible for the Firewise USA program. And we don't control that here. We're fortunate that CAL FIRE, as the state forester agency, is very engaged with the program and have set some standards for Firewise that aren't in other states. For example, the 3-year action plan. The bar on that was raised by CAL FIRE to make sure it had some things in there that aren't in the national template. They have regional and statewide coordinators at CAL FIRE that tie in directly to our regional coordinators here. And so Tanya and Richie Galvin, representing the west slope of El Dorado County, work directly with CAL FIRE here in the unit, and the regional coordinators at CAL FIRE to sort of have that relationship. So information flow, or if we have issues or things we'd like to see changed, obviously we engage and run that up through. But our input into NFPA is through CAL FIRE as the state forestry agency. That's how NFPA recognizes it throughout the country. So the ability to get these kinds of things changed is obviously requires it's a much higher level than we are. But we're certainly, I think everyone's open to bringing forward those kinds of issues. But I just want to make it really clear, there are two separate programs. And I will be honest, FireWise is developing for its own reason. And yes, FireWise USA was really initially developed to try to produce more FireWise, more fire resilient communities. But to be honest, this big spike in interest is really almost 95% driven by insurance.
Absolutely.
And so we're constantly trying to find ways to merge the two and make sure fire safe councils and FireWise are all on that same page. But the reality is they're going to be running their own paths. And so that's where the county is working really hard as facilitating that to make sure, the maps are updated, all of this is coordinated. But we want our fire safe councils to be whatever they need to be. And they're not necessarily going to be in alignment with FireWise. Some are, some aren't. We just have to make sure that we're coordinating and cross-pollinating the information. But there is no way we can script fire safe councils and FireWise to be exactly the same. That's just not where the model is going right now. So it's up to all of us to do that ourselves to ensure that's happening. Yeah. So we have Karen. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
You too. I just have just a quick comment about that. I think that it's important that the fire safe councils do try to achieve their FireWise status. Not mostly because there are lots of reasons, but it's a great collaboration and a great way to get your communities more involved and get more participation in your fire safe councils, as well as the benefits that you receive from both. And back when our fire safe council started, we didn't have a Tanya and a Richie to help us with that FireWise. So it's come a long way, and I thank them for that and the county for it. But there is a great collaboration that can come out of working with it, and a great way to get more people in your community involved with tracking sheets and just becoming more involved. So there is a benefit, like Ken said, to both. So that's it. That's all I have to say.
Karen, I'm glad you brought that up. I do want to say that when we get calls and emails all the time, a couple times a day, actually, for people's FireWise certificates, because that's all they want is their certificate for their insurance discount. I don't give them their certificate until I tell them who their FireWise leader is and the contact information, and I let them know if they're in a fire safe council. So we're just not that's part of what we're trying to do at the county, is make sure that we're trying to engage people in these community efforts and not just giving them a certificate so they can get a discount. So that is something that that's very meaningful that we're doing to make sure that we're engaging our community.
Let's look at Janine first, then we'll go to you. Yeah, just we're good.
So this is timely. One of the people in our fire safe council got a notice from their insurance company and it has to do with mapping, that our map that we submitted to FireWise was not an approved FireWise map. And I actually emailed you and Richie about this issue because I didn't know how to respond back to this person, because it was. So who makes up these maps? I mean, I'm serious. I'm serious. I mean, so Greenstone has a map and it says it's approved by by California and by El Dorado County. They're, things are on them, but the insurance. So I said, you need to kind of push back on this with your insurance company. I don't want to get into the weeds about this too much, but it has to do with maps and, who approves these maps. And
so the maps have always been the challenge, because the maps start with all of you. When you're looking at organizing FireWise, Fire Safe Council, establishing the boundaries is always the first piece. And especially since Firewise matters for insurance now. Exact parcel boundaries are critical because are you in or are you out? So in the old days, a few years ago, we were all individually going to the county's GIS program, asking them, and out of the goodness of their heart, they were trying to help us build maps. Well, that we're way past that now with the volume. So one of the significant services that OWOPR is doing is they're facilitating the discussion. And so the staff at OWOPR, particularly Tanya and Richie, are sitting down with all of you saying, okay, help us, tell us what you want your boundaries to be, help us. And they're providing suggestions, say, hey, maybe fill in the gap here or take these extra parcels so there isn't an open area. But it's really what your boundaries are when you want to be is what's generating it. Once you all agree to that, the county GIS will build that map for you, will build it for us. It becomes a polygon. And then that becomes the map base, the shape file that's then submitted to the National Fire Protection Association, Firewise USA. It is not an official map. We can't bless that map until the NFPA accepts your boundaries and your risk assessment and you are officially a Firewise USA community. NFPA will not give that information back out to any of us. They are charging insurance companies to get that information. So when I'm State Farm and I want to know, are you in a Firewise USA? NFPA is charging State Farm to access and provide that information. We as a courtesy have said, well, you know what, these are our community members. Once the map is blessed and submitted, we're publishing it to the mapping tool so that the boundaries are at least on the shape file. And those aren't changed by NFPA. They are, once it's approved by CAL FIRE and submitted to NFPA, that's where the boundary becomes. And then that's when we trigger putting it on the county's mapping tool.
I kind of think this is a stall tactic on behalf of the insurance company, to be honest with you. So, but anyway, I provided these homeowners the map, our map that we submitted with Firewise. I also provided them the certificate and said, we are in good standing on Firewise, and here is where you go to get that information. So their insurance company did respond back positively that it wasn't transparent what that discount was.
Right. And that's common.
Okay.
Chris, Ken, time. Ken attempted to explain to us why certain subjects are outside our general control. And I think you did an excellent job. Okay.
The time, because it happened to me, I did it.
So my point to time. I think we have a bigger issue in El Dorado County now because of social media. I don't know if you've been following it. Most recently, the Facebook postings and the videos and all of the things that have to do with people being upset with our hazardous vegetation ordinance, and they're going to push back. I mean, I see the groundswell of this Patriots group, which I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to become more familiar with them. Seems to have a complaint about what's going on in their beautiful plush neighborhoods. And I was wondering, OWOPR, whether you are also sensitive of that and are trying to use maybe public or social media itself to try to tell the more complete story, because it's not being told. Thank you, Ken.
Well aware. We obviously we are watching social media closely because we just have to, and not just because we're trying to be aware of what the controversy is, but we're trying to be aware of what we need to be educating about. So there's a lot of misinformation, as we all know. And on every Facebook post, there's something that is misstated, inaccurate, misleading. So we do follow that, not to argue back, but to make sure that we are getting the correct message out and what do we really need to focus on. So we're monitoring that at all times. We are aware of that current situation, and we are going to do our best to make sure that people are being given accurate information.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I want to move this through. Go ahead, Alice.
It's not necessarily directed to you, but it has to do with what you brought up. And I think what he said is really accurate. And I'm concerned that when I stepped away from the public, what was it, education outreach, I think Dorothy, you're that now, and you've got so much else on your plate. I feel like just asking the vice chair to also do all the education and all the outreach is the same way. The county can't necessarily respond the same way we as homeowners and neighbors can. And so I really think we need an education person for our FISA council.
Thank you, Alice. So we have one question. We'll take it from Bob Hess online. Can you make it brief, Bob?
Yes, I'll make it quick. Just back to Firewise for a minute. You mentioned the mapping tool, and that's been pretty successful for me with some of our folks in our communities. I've shown them how they can drill down directly to their parcel, actually see the house. That seems to work. That's it.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. Moving on, and I know he's standing right over there. Without further ado, Chief Cordero.
Thank you. Good morning. And I won't get on my soapbox, but I'll just make a brief comment. Thank you, Tanya, for the segue on the rave piece. And it is kind of a pet peeve of mine, and really kind of where it's coming from is, and this is a perfect audience because you guys are active in your community as far as Firewise goes, or fire safe councils go. And when we go to events and people say, we always ask the question, how many of you are signed up for rave? And we usually get 20, 30, 40% of the people that raise their hand in the community group, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, great. That's not great. We want 100% of the people signed up. Don't applaud your community members for having 30 or 40% signed up. Let's cross that bridge and get 100% of the people signed up. And one of the things we learned at the Strawberry one, we got some feedback because we asked about barriers. What are the barriers to keep people from getting signed up on a rave? And there was some confusion because when you go to it, then it takes you to like Smart 911. It's a different. So our PIO is working on kind of getting some information out. He'll get in conjunction with OWOPR group on getting that piece to just kind of give some public education on when you go to rave, it's actually Smart 911, how that works, answer some of those questions. So kudos to Strawberry for giving us that. And then in the essence of time, I think we've kind of chatted about this morning with the presentation from CAL FIRE and the Forest Service on the fire season, which is really kind of the mode we're in right now. It's getting ramped up for the fire year, not the fire season. So we'll keep working towards that. But thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I want to put in a plug for Chief Cordero and his folks. Chief is he is engaged in everything that's going on. It's hard when you're in that job to get to every place and every event, but to make it to a Strawberry Fire Safe Council meeting, then zip down to another event. And he's very engaged at the coordination group. And so anyway, Tim, thank you very much. And you are definitely on the hook for next month. We're fire season 101, fire service 101. Go ahead, sir.
Just real quick, wanted to say thank you to Chief Cordero for allowing us to use the fire station out at Oak Hill for our community event. And that was great, even though the crew was there, they've been having issues, but we were able to still hold our event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lester. Okay, I'm looking around. We have an official representative for the Fire Prevention Officers Association. If I'm missing anyone, let me know. I see Krishana online, but I don't know if you represent them. If you need to fly me down, Krishana, and we will hit you up. A lot of official force. We've got a good update from Brian this morning. I don't see Brad or other staff here, so we will move on. RCD, I saw Courtney earlier, but there she is.
Hello. Good morning, Mark Egbert here from Resource District. Sorry, just to play. My name is Courtney Jackson. I'm with Community Outreach and Community Engagement for the Resource Conservation Districts, El Dorado and Georgetown Divide. I have an update today on the projects that we are currently working on. That I'm going to start with the Placerville Community Wildfire Resiliency Strategy.
So as I said last month, that strategy has been finalized and that is on our website. So if you wanted to review that over 200-page document with maps, please feel free to do so. It actually is a great document talking about the risks of our footprint, which is the greater Placerville area. So it gives us a blueprint for the future for wildfire mitigation. We have identified 24 projects, potential projects. So you can look at each one of those, what they entail, and potential treatments, and even budget. So I invite you to utilize that as well as an interactive map where you can turn on and off different layers that can show you one way in, one way out, other risks and hazards, as well as assets in the community. And if you have any questions regarding that, please feel free to give me a call. I'll start with the project update for Caldor Phase 2. Right now, seedling monitoring is underway in cooperation with UCCE. We are coordinating the expansion units right now with the FSC and operations team. And we are still accepting right of entry agreements, hoping to expand those units that we've identified for potential treatment. And the Coloma Lotus fuel reduction project, 43 acres of potential treatment area have been identified for Phase 2 of the project. A request for proposals will be issued to select a contractor for the next phase. And these units do include Terraview, Loop, Los Robles, Taipan, Araby, and there's a section leading up to Marshall State Park. South County Fuels Reduction Project. Shaded fuel break work continues next week at the end of Heartland Road. And we estimate 7 to 10 days to complete that unit, at which point the contractor will move to the southernmost unit along Oak Hill Road and begin working their way north. And we do anticipate 2 more contractors mobilizing to Twitchell Road during the last week of May. Roadside fuel reduction work in that project is continuing along Mount Auckham Road and is anticipated to finish up in the next 1 to 2 weeks. We are looking at expansion units as well, and that will be discussed at our next Fire State Council meeting for South County. For Spanish Flat, work has begun on a new unit and will continue this week. Smaller machines, chippers, and hand crews are continuing to finish up a couple of units off Laughlin. Roadside fuel reduction work continues along Travers Creek Road, and work will proceed along Travers Creek Road and head in the direction of the intersection with Bear Creek Road. And that work is being done by a Garden Valley Fire Department fuel reduction crew. Stevens Authority, Volcanoville, we're awaiting an operation schedule from the contractor. Mosquito fuel reduction, Stevens Authority project. A subcontractor is working through next week. The main contractor will resume work next Tuesday in the La Paz Road unit. And upon completion of this unit, they will move to a property next to Finnan Lake. In the Stevens Authority Grizzly Flat project, cultural resource surveys were conducted last Monday, and we expect to receive the completed report the first week of June. And the Stevens Authority Sierra Springs project planned treatment areas have been identified and flagging will start soon. Mosquito EFRT Recovery and Restoration project is awaiting an operation schedule from the contractor, and we're also waiting for the contractor's operation schedule to resume on the Marshall Road roadside fuel reduction. When work begins then, they're going to resume shaded fuel break work along Marshall Road. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Yes, there's a lot happening out there, and appreciate that partnership with the RCD. We wouldn't be getting all this done. Next up, we today, so no SMUD report. Talk to Mike Webb at PG&E. He'll be part of next month's June wildfire extravaganza report, but he's got a good report on PG&E's activities. So he'll report out as part of that next month. And then Zarella from BOR is on vacation this week, so she'll return next month for her report. So with that program report, we move over to grants and funding. Tamara Johnson. Why did I do that again? There we go. Sergeant Bear or Deputy Bear and the team from Sheriff's OAS are here, and
Hey, no.
Intro worked out.
No problem. I'm sure it's just a short joke. You didn't see me.
I was gonna say
Bear. I really know that fire season, we go into it with the mindset that it's gonna be the worst fire season ever. That's how we approach it. So we're doing a lot to improve our system. We preach all the time to sign up.
The mic we may not have this.
Closer to. Oh, sorry. Yeah, perfect. So with our RAVE system, our early emergency alert system, we're always preaching to have people sign up for it. Currently it is opt-in system, so to get those messages, you have to sign up for it. And for this group too, sorry for the confusion of it as that sign up process where it goes to Smart 911. That's because the state pays for our alert warning system. So that's the system that's underneath for CalES 911. They regulate the 911 program. So when you sign up through RAVE, it's under there. So that's why it's the Smart 911. You sign up for the system. So sorry for the confusion on that, but that's why it goes through that process. For the alerting system, it's constantly improving. We just improved to the point where we used to have only 200 characters when we sent out the messages, which was not a lot of characters in text message. So working with RAVE, we expanded it to about 600 characters. So we put a lot more information into our alerting platform. But for everybody that you talk to, please tell them to sign up for our system because, like Renato said, we would love to boost those numbers to hit everybody in the county. We also improved it by having perimetermap.com. I'm sure everyone's probably familiar with that system already. They're constantly improving too. The Crozier fire was very, very effective. I think we had about 1.5 million views on that mapping software alone. So it's a great tool that we use. I also want to say that WatchDuty is also a really good application that you can download. We are trying to streamline that process for WatchDuty. So we actually, when we send out alerts, we send it directly to WatchDuty PIO. So they're getting information from us that they can post on their site. So it's making it better because they're receiving information from us. But still sign up for RAVE just because there is a time delay for it going to WatchDuty and for them to approve it and post it. But if you have signed up for our system, you get it directly. And it could be 5 to 10 minutes. But when there's traffic piling up when you're evacuating, that 5-10 minutes can beat the traffic. So it's very important that you do sign up for it and do get the alerts. Recently, we just tested our system at the Lake Hills evacuation drill this last Sunday. We sent the message to over 3,000 people, and we did some door-to-door evacuations to simulate too and had a town hall meeting. We're going to try to do one of these big evacuation drills, at least one every year. I don't know where the next one's going to be, but we want to engage with you guys to find a great community that works for us to plan that in for the next couple of years. Also, we're fully staffed right now. Unfortunately, this last year, we did lose Chief Willenthal because he got promoted to the Chief of the Hills. But luckily for us, we're now fully staffed because we have a new person in our office, Captain Matt Bichelli. Belici? I got it right the second time. Also in our office, we do have the civilian position for Shay Schmidt. If you haven't met her, she wears many hats in our office. One of them is public outreach. And so I'm sure quite a few people in this room have already been in contact with her for our stuff. Any questions from us for evacuations?
Sandwich on the list. Trial. We need to practice that.
Yeah, we have a few on the list. So believe it or not, pretty much everyone wants to do it. So it really depends on a lot of factors when we decide what we're going to do.
So just quick thoughts. So Deputy Bear, was it successful? Eldorado Hills, and what was your?
Yep, I think Eldorado Hills was very successful. We didn't get really any complaints back for our learning platform. We worked with all of our partners in the community. Everyone was very engaged. I think overall it was a good success. People that had questions came to the town hall meeting. They were able to ask the questions from not just us for our evaluations, but also our fire partners. We had SCAR for large animal rescue out there. We had Red Cross out there. We had a mock shelter out there, and answered a bunch of questions for evacuations. So it was a good event. And there was a farmer market right next door. So if you went to our event, you go to the farmer market. So
So win-win. All right. Any other questions for Sheriff's OES?
all right, awesome. Well, I want to thank everything you guys do. You guys make our job a lot easier, especially by getting the word out for our rate platforms and all the training we're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And you really have the A team there, and I think everyone appreciates the level of engagement by Sheriff's OES and all of this. So thank you. Even when I forget to call you again. So, all right, now grants and program reports, Tamara Johnston.
Hi, Tamara Johnston, grants manager, and I'll just start off right away with the question everybody has is, have we gotten the money from the California Fire Safe Council advance? And no, we haven't. And I still don't have an ETA. My last update from them is that so the money is coming from the Forest Service to the California Fire Safe Council, and the California Fire Safe Council submitted their request for the money, and the Forest Service needed some details back, which they've given them the details back, and now they're just waiting for the Forest Service to okay and send them the money, and then they'll send us the money, but still no ETA. I will send out an email as soon as I find out. You will find out within minutes from when I find out, but just letting you know, still not there, and I don't know when it will be, but hopefully soon, although I know I say that every meeting. For the PG&E vegetation management grant that we talked about the last couple of meetings, that they were giving $100,000 or giving out $100,000 for fuel reduction work. The county fiscally sponsored 3 projects that were submitted to PG&E, one for South County fuel reduction, one for Texas Hill, and then one for the chipping program. And then Auburn Lake Trails also applied on their own. They have their own 501c3 for shaded fuel breaks within Auburn Lake Trails. And out of those 4 that were applied for in our county, we got 2. So Auburn Lake Trails received their grant, and South County received their grant. So that was pretty great, $200,000 in our county.
Congratulations to both of them. And I just want to say, he was a little bit upset, but we'll work through that. He didn't get it.
I know that's what happens when we compete against each other, but you know, at least we got 200. We got 50% of what we asked for, which is, you know, pretty good. Let's see what else we have going on. I just wanted to clarify for everybody, we have a bunch of fuel reduction CAL FIRE grants that were awarded in 2022 that are really ramping up and doing, Courtney talked about, you know, a lot of the RCD projects are our projects that they're managing for us that are funded through CAL FIRE. And those grants had a very short time period to complete them, less than 4 years. Our newer CAL FIRE grants have more than 5 years on the grant period, but the older CAL FIRE grants are, I think, 3 years and 9 months. And they're pretty complicated, large projects. So I had reached out to CAL FIRE to see if there was a chance to be able to get an extension on those grants, and there are no extensions. So I'm just letting everyone know who's dealing with those grants. There will be no extensions, and the reason is that it's baked into the legislation. So in order to extend extend the grant, they would have to do new legislation, and we know how that's not going to happen. So so just FYI, especially for the larger projects, and I know mine is actually the largest one, the $5 million one up in the Georgetown area, there will be no extensions. So just make sure that if you're the person or persons managing your on the ground project, that you're really on it and you're spending that money and you're getting it finished. And the grant period ends March 31st, 2026. So just want to put that out there. I tried, but we're not gonna get any extensions. And then, just finally, just to keep it on everyone's radar, the U.S. Forest Service Community Wildfire Defense Grant, is still out there. It's still in play. We applied for a little under $10 million in March. I'm not expecting to hear anything from that probably till at least August or September. They usually take quite a while, but I just want to, let everyone know it's still out there. It hasn't been declined, so that's a good thing. And then finally, this had to go to the e-board. We weren't able to bring it to the full board in time, but the e-board voted to fiscally sponsor the SOFAR Collaborative, the South Fork American River Cohesive Strategy Collaborative. Yes, they lost their funding that paid for the facilitator for the collaborative group. So they've had a hard time continuing the collaborative work that they're doing. And so they wanted to apply for a grant to fund their facilitator, and only a 501c3 could apply. So they came to us with a request that we would fiscally sponsor them to apply for that grant, and the e-board voted to be able, to do that, to fiscally sponsor. So we will be getting the 10% fiscal sponsor fee to help cover the administration of that grant, because that will still need to be administered by us if they get it. And that's all I have at the moment. Any questions? Yeah, Lester?
Is it possible to set up a meeting coming up in response to that the wildfire prevention grant window is going to open up, so that we can kind of, similar to what we did last year, of identifying projects and how to move forward anyways on some?
Yeah, I think we should do that once the guidelines actually come out, because I know Patrick said last time that he was indicating that there might be a particular focus to the grants. And so it just seems like a little premature until we see the guidelines and if there is a focus to meet, do you have a comment, Megan? Or right.
Sorry.
Hello. All right, so I haven't seen anything in writing, but I have heard verbally that the grant applications, they're gonna hope people focus on maintenance this round. So they're looking to fund about 40% of the wildfire prevention grant projects as maintenance on previously existing projects.
That's interesting. Okay.
But again, I haven't seen that in writing. That's just like verbal hearsay. So
right.
Take that with a grain of salt until we see things in writing.
Got you down as a quote right here.
So
Perfect. Put it on the Facebook page.
But to that point, then I think that's why I would like to see what the guidelines are before we have that meeting, because then we're going to be having more meetings.
Right, but something to think about. But always have something else ready in your back pocket too.
Right, but absolutely, as soon as they are announced, we'll try to call a meeting quickly and get that. I mean, we've already been having discussions, and I know people are thinking about their projects. So hopefully we're a little further along than we have been in years past. But yeah, absolutely, we need to have that meeting as soon as the guidelines come out. Thanks. Any other question? Oh, Elizabeth.
So this may be a question for Tanya or you, but Sand Ridge is kind of fell through the cracks in the CWPP. So when do I assume we need to be under a CWPP to apply for this?
Not for CAL FIRE.
Not for CAL FIRE. Okay, good, because we do have old projects on the ground that need maintenance. So I was just wondering if I should even put any effort into it if we're not, but sounds like I should. Thank you. No, we're not.
They're not.
Yeah, so I didn't know what the timeline was. For those of us starting to think about grants, what's the timeline for getting the CWPP finalized so we can start planning for grants?
As far as I know, I don't know of any grants coming up that require that projects be in the CWPP. So I think I don't know what the timeline is for finishing it, but there's nothing in the horizon that would affect it, so we're okay.
And either way, I think for everybody's reference, as Tanya mentioned, I think we're looking at the middle to the end of July to have the CAP adopted by the Board of Supervisors. That's sort of the time frame. I think it's really important. You can certainly reference it now, but this grant probably will work itself to where it's legitimate to reference the new one within that time frame.
And usually CAL FIRE's rounds are, I think it's like usually 2 months between the time the guidelines come out and the deadline. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year, but there's usually a couple months, so maybe even a little longer. Do you know, Megan?
I think that is a good guess.
Okay, guesses are awesome.
So someone wanted to comment. Thank you for your report. It's very clear. But I don't know if the new people that are here in the room understands the importance of maintenance. We've never had this before. Therefore, it's always new projects that haven't been applied for. With this maintenance, if it's true, and you can't really tell until it's actually done, as you've said, that means anybody who's had previous project actually has a lot of the work already done, especially if they were successful. So in that regard, the sooner the better on preparing, and I don't want anybody to be left out in terms of their ability to do a maintenance related project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Moving on, I know she's just back with us, but assistance programs, Jessica, anything to update us on assistance program?
Right when I put food in my mouth, too. Thank you, Ken. Oh, closer. Hello. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, I just have to, I have been working nonstop on just reviewing the last 3 months of invoices and reports to ensure accuracy. So with that being said, I have not quite gotten the numbers for hazardous street, but I have completed the statistics for chipping and defensible space, and I'll be providing those numbers now. The year-to-date report for our chipping program, we have completed 273 jobs. We have cleared 533 acres. We have chipped 46,614 cubic yards. We have spent $121,589.13. For our defensible space, we have evaluated 187 new parcels. We have cleared 150. The average cost per parcel is $1,324.70. And we've spent $203,642 exactly. Of the parcels that we have cleared, 38 of them were veterans, 135 of them were seniors, 27 of them were low income, and 30 of them were disabled. And next month, I will have hazardous street for you. And just so everybody knows, I'm working every morning, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the office on 515 Main Street, Paso Robles.
Thank you.
And it's also my birthday today. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm 63.
All right, moving right along. Training committee, you all has something to say.
Not today, no. Well, first of all, since our last meeting, we've conducted 2 training classes where we trained approximately 75 people and assessors. And I really want to thank all the folks that participated in that, and especially our instructor cadre, which is Alice, Elizabeth, Kit, she isn't here, but Kit, and a new one, Jacob from County Fire. I'm sorry Cadero had to leave because I really wanted to thank him for allowing him to become part of our instructor cadre. He's a great asset. So he's part of that. And then of course Richie and then Tanya. And we did something different in our class that ended yesterday. We had Tanya come over at the end of the class, and we gave her, well, I gave her more time than I probably, where is she? She gone? I can say whatever I want. Oh, no. No, she came over, she came up and she spent about 45 minutes or so just letting all of the new assessors know exactly what kind of resources were available to them through OWOPR. And it was a wonderful thing that she did. In fact, we're going to start doing that on all of our classes because there's such a volume of information that OWOPR has that's of real benefit to the assessors. But she did that. I want to thank her for that. Then I want to thank Richie, also from OWOPR, who came in and then Ken McKinstry, I know Ken's here somewhere. Ken, thank you. Ken printed all of the ID badges for everybody and got them all ready. I want to thank Ken for that. I especially want to thank Karen Pullen. Without Karen, I don't know if we'd even have a class, to be very honest. I mean, she's I don't even know what to say other than she's here like at 6:30 in the morning. She makes salads for stuff. She bakes stuff. She goes and picks up the lunches, and I just, Karen, thank you so much. Yes. So also there were two people that unfortunately that are part of the cadre, but they couldn't be here for personal things going on. Well, Jeff Hogue, he was sick, so he's over there, but he couldn't be there. And then, of course, Ron Phillips had a family issue, so he wasn't there. But they were there prior to that to help us put it together. So the reason I said that is I just want you to get some kind of idea. When I talk about your training committee, it's not just one or two people. It's a lot of people, and it's people from all of the different organizations in the county. And it gets back to what Tanya says all the time. We bring them in specifically so everybody gets the same information. Doesn't matter whether it's coming from County Fire, whether it's coming from CAL FIRE, whether it's coming from the Fire Safe Council, where it's coming from, it's the same information. And so it's a great group, and I just want to thank everybody for that. Now, with the finish of that, we have now trained up approximately 150 assessors in this count on the West Slope. And now, having said that, I got the numbers from Terry. Last month, we did 9 assessments. So I'm really hoping when we have 150 people that every month now we're going to start seeing the number of assessments done increase. I really hope. Because second of all, and I know Ken gets mad because they take too much time, but
what am I going to say?
I don't care. I don't work for him. But no, what I want to say is I hope you guys understand that the Fire Safe Council puts financially, it's a fair amount of money.
Yeah, the only person that's upset about all of this is Janet, who wrote the check.
Yeah, it's a fair amount of money for them to put on this 2-day class with what they charge. It's up a couple grand or more. And so I really hope that when we start expending those kind of things for our people, and we provide it for now for free, that people recognize that and actually go out and use what they got. So if any of you are in the class, or any of you have some other people in your Fire Safe Council that took the class, encourage them to get out there and help, if necessary, help them start doing assessments. Because if they don't, if they wait, we all know what'll happen. They'll wait for a while, and pretty soon they'll think, well, I don't really remember everything, so now I'm not. So you need to encourage them, get them out, get moving, and let's start getting some assessments done. All right? Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. And just from all of us, you, the whole team that did that work, it's just a lot of work. And so I just a round of applause. You leading that.
It was for you also, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You were making a red effort in the whole
No, he applauds for me all the time, but he never buys me a beer.
Okay. Outreach and education, Dorothy.
The other piece, just on the training committee, and Elizabeth, there's so much information that's given out, and Elizabeth collects it, carts it, brings it in. So, I mean, box after box after box. So an extra thank you very much, Elizabeth. So in essence of time, because we're running
No,
over.
don't, before you go, I'm sorry, but I gotta say this, and I knew that was gonna happen. The other person that was a big help in this class with Dorothy. Dorothy was here. Dorothy for.
Hey, I'll buy you the beer later. That was a shout out. For education and outreach, I'm just gonna pass it over very quickly to Elizabeth, because the one thing, in essence of time in reports, a shout out to what happened over at the Home and Garden. That was a new for us that had happened 2 years ago when Alice did it. And it was new for Elizabeth. Do you want to give a very brief summary on that?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, sure. So we, had we had a booth at the Home and Garden Show. So that was May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We lucked out with good weather. We had really great attendance. We handed out probably at least a box of the green workbooks, and thank you to OWOPR for all the workbooks and the extra flyers. We got tons of flyers out for assessments, and I'm seeing a little more activity on the assessment front coming in from that. So I think we made some good connections. Also while we were there, we kind of came up with a theme, worked a little bit with the Home and Garden Show, and we hope we can maybe develop this in coming years, but we came up with a thing of a wildfire ready zone at the fair, and had a couple signs to that effect, and tried to bring in contractors, and had our booth, and kind of getting things organized so if people were concerned about wildfire, and trying to get the different resources to have there. I also, while I was there, walked around and talked to other vendors that didn't know that what they did was a wildfire ready sort of thing, and tried to educate them. So I have a lot of ideas for more additional education stuff, but I wanted to specifically thank, again, a lot of volunteers to make this happen. We had Bob Hess, John Hess from Mount Alcom did reflective signs. He was there all day. Tom Turner, Denise Romanek, Michael Davis, Angel Ball, and Judy Hobson were there working the booth and helping make everything happen. So that's it.
Angel, governance.
Sorry. Under the outreach and education arena, I do have signups for the El Dorado County Fair. There are 4 slots left, which I think puts us at about 80%. And as we know, 80% is not good enough. We need 100%. So there are 4 opportunities. So come see me after the meeting and sign up. Thank you. Under governance, new council formation and orientation. We're going to talk about renewals. Currently, we have 33 associate fire safe councils, and only 10 have signed up to renew. That's not 100% either. So that means 23 have not. Now, I was going to play the Amazing Race, but y'all didn't participate. So I need 23 fire safe councils to turn in their information to me by June 10th, so that we can approve them by June 18th at the next meeting. Does anybody have any questions about renewals?
Nope.
Karen?
We only need 22.
Okay, Karen brought hers to me today. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. I got Placerville. Let's see. I think that pretty much sums up my report. Thank you.
So I would take you, unless you want a phone call from Angel, I would suggest you turn those in by the event. Thank you, Angel.
Very well.
Okay, we are up to community council reports. What's going on around our Associate Fire Safe Council network? So folks want to just raise your hands and we'll get to everybody. Let's start with Lucy, is she standing up? And then let's work our way through the rest of that. We'll get everybody.
So, it has been a busy time since our last meeting. So Sandridge actually did a Green Waste Day, May 16th and 17th. We do a 2-day event. I haven't done the numbers for the bulk stuff, but chipped, we filled two 20-yard dumpsters. So we did almost 40 yards of chipped material into the dumpsters. We worked with Watkins Forestry for the chipping. They were awesome. I would highly recommend them for anybody else. I think they're on the list of people for the Fire Safe Council, but they were awesome to work with, cleaned it all up, looked better than when they got there. So they were good.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Let's go to court and then we'll keep working our way around the room. And John Hess, I see you online. We'll grab you here shortly. Cord. Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Stand by, John.
Yeah, we had a Green Waste Day on May 7th.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
We're okay?
Yep.
We had Ockham Fairplay had a Green Waste Day on May 17th, one of our most successful events that we've had, thanks to Terry Nicholas, a new council member. We had 47 loads of material filling, 2 40-yard dumpsters, over 400 hours of community work, 25 volunteers, and thanks to West Slope for providing a chipper and labor. It was a great day.
Great. Thank you, John, and kudos to Ockham Fairplay. All right,
All
Corey.
right, I'm Cord with Heritage El Dorado Hills Fire Safe Council. We just completed our assessor training. Annette in the background is our secretary, and she completed that training. So we've done 4 assessments since April, but we advertised it today, and I think you had like 10 emails saying sign me up. So I think we're gonna. So our council's doing well, and we'll have some more news next month. But I'd like to take an opportunity to mention something before about Team Rubicon. So a quick sidebar on Team Rubicon. I'm a volunteer with them, and a year ago we had a big operation. It was up in Grizzly Flats. Ernie's left, but had a lot of help from Ernie and Mark Almer from Fire Safe Council. Had a lot of help from the Pioneer Volunteer Firefighters Association, or Jerry Jumper. But most importantly, what made the 30-day operation for Team Rubicon, where we had almost 300 volunteers over a month-long period come in and do a lot of work, was Courtney Jackson's help. And so I'm going to ask Courtney to come up. And I mentioned Courtney before, and it was really important. And I thought, okay, a couple shout outs. But Courtney was the person for the RCD that really made it happen for us, and that made it to where we could fly in Team Rubicon volunteers from all across the country. We had 2 waves of they were cadets or college students from the Massachusetts Maritime Academy. They flew them out. So we had these waves every 2 weeks of 50 to 75 people, including then more people from Team Rubicon. So without Courtney's help with finding Jerry Jumper and Denise Janine, sorry, and trash can waste management support and whatnot, it wouldn't have happened. So Courtney, will you pull out what's in there? Wait, it's a rattlesnake. No, this was Courtney, it wasn't Mark Edberg. So this is a shirt, and what Team Rubicon does is they, in these big operations, so from ICS World, it's a type 2 operation. So they get a shirt, and they have everybody that comes through in these waves, there's even stains on it, it's the best part. So everybody from these waves are asked to sign the shirt. And then what they do is they then leave the shirt with either the organization or the person. It's usually an organization, but the person that did the most to make it work. So up at Hoopa, where they spend a month almost every year doing fire mitigation, they have either a donut from a tree they brought down or shirts that indicate that we appreciate what they do. So Courtney, I don't know how many signatures are on there, but that's been in somebody else's hands for a year, because it happened a year ago. And they got it to me and said, give this to Courtney, because we thought you were the one that did the most.
So I just wanted to give Cord his due, because without his passion, it would have never come this way. And actually, Chris was involved with this, and David was involved with this. There was a lot of people who were involved with this. So this is not just for me. This is for the entire. That's right. But thank you, because they did so much great work in Grizzly Flats. So
we're hoping that you can display it somewhere. at the office or something. Find a space.
Okay, first of all, she is deserving of this, and we respect you so much and all the efforts that you put in. But also, Cord, thank you so much, Team Rubicon. Thank you.
Great work. Okay, others that I see over here, Hassan, we'll start there and then we'll go over to Bill.
So we're on? Yeah, okay. A quick update on our community Green Waste Day. We filled up 2.5 40-yard dumpsters, which is an improvement from last year, with a grand total of almost 380 hours and 417 of those little brown bags. So that was a success. And then we are going to start our Sierra Springs evaluation starting June 1st. And we're going to be doing less than what we did before because we're trying to prevent volunteer burnout. But we're planning to, in the first 2 weeks of June, to evaluate about 150 of our parcels. And and then we will notify the folks if they need to have work done. And then just a quick informational thing. I know I didn't submit anything for the agenda, but from the last RAP meeting, got a couple of quick interesting points of information. And that is that the California Fire Safe Council now has on their website a list of approved fire mitigation contractors, including Defensible Space and Home Hardening. And they will be updating that a number of times a year. So if anyone's interested, because we're getting more and more requests for information of, well, who does this kind of work? And so now the California Fire Safe Council is beginning to put together a list. It's in the form of a PDF document that you can either look online or download. And the other thing they mentioned that some people might find interesting, on May 29th, the United Policyholders on their website, they're going to have a home insurance shopping webinar. I didn't have an exact date for it, but if you go there to uphealth.org, you can look up and they're going to have professionals there and give also advice on what to look for when you're looking for fire insurance. So I just want to give that quick update. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
Great, Bill.
Bill Osgood with Serrano Fire Safe Council. First, we formed, I guess we're just about a year old now, and we started with 4 people who had no experience in the fire business. And I'm really excited that recently we've had people now coming to us. We've added 2 people to our core team that do have experience in the fire business, one actively. So I'm pretty excited about that. We recently hosted a webinar with Joel Lasher from the United Policyholders, offering practical advice to homeowners who've had their insurance policies canceled. Recording is available on our website, serranofiresafecouncil.org. 5 council members successfully completed the Cal Fire Assessor training course. Our next step is to develop an implementation plan, because we are talking about 4,800 homes here. An implementation plan, and we're collaborating with the fire department and the HOA, because both we have to say the right things to everybody, followed by a formal announcement of our homeowners, and then we plan to deliver. So get your checkbook out. Next item, my final item is we're concerned about clarification of enforcement responsibility in Serrano, specifically defensible space law. I was under the wrong impression that it applied to every house in Serrano, but we have 2/3 of Serrano is in the LRA. So we met with Chief Fields, we got that squared away. She has enforcement responsibility in the SRA, not the LRA. And then I met with spoke at the El Dorado Hills, board meeting, fire department board meeting, asking them, what is your plan to, address wildfire mitigation in the LRA? I thought this might be interesting to people who, because there's a lot of LRA in El Dorado Hills. I'm not, and some in Cameron Park. I'm not sure about the rest, but Chief Fields got back to me. She's not on, so I'm not worried about quoting her accurately, but she said it's the intent of the board to enforce 4291 in the LRA. It'll have to be done through a local ordinance, but it may be limited to high and very high designations. If that's true, the enforcement is limited to high and very high. Very few properties in the LRA maps were given designations. So we will have 3,000 homes in high density neighborhoods that have wood fences, are not compliant with zone 1 and zone 2 and zone 3, that are not going to be fall within that framework. So as I've been learning, it's clear to me that legislative mandates certainly are necessary, but not sufficient to mitigate risk. So I am, in contrast, I am really pleased personally with the CWPP, how that was developed. It gives me a lot of confidence in what is required to address risk, and we are solidly behind it. And so it'll be a very important part of our council. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Others? Ken from Logtown. Got you, Janine. I'll grab you next.
Ken Rogers, Logtown Fire Safe Council. Earlier this month, we had our Green Waste Day. We filled 2 roll-off dumpsters, one right to the tippy top full of chips, and the other one with material that was too large to chip. Highly successful, and we really helped in cleaning up the community. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah. Janine, Greenstone.
I feel like I've been up here as much as Chris today.
What kind of feel? That's
May 14th, we had our town hall on evacuation. Lieutenant Troy Martin came, and we had a good turnout. We had about 40 people, so I was pleased with that. Our Green Waste Days start on May 30th, and we'll go until the bins are full. And they were very successful last year, so I'm sure that we had one of our homeowners come down with their tractor too to help people put stuff into the bin, so that was very helpful. Greenstone has taken our CWPP a little bit seriously now, and so they're doing a lot of mastication around the back end of our community that backs up to Weber Creek. So I'm working with our board to get those things completed and done. And we will be working on getting our website up and running. So that's it.
Thank you, Janine. Dorothy, I was making eye contact with Dorothy, so I was forgetting her name. So
yes, Dorothy Fine, Camino Fire Safe Council. We just wanted to let you know that a problem was brought to us there. The El Dorado County Trail ends up at Camino Heights, Camino Hills, and there's way overload of fuels. So we worked in collaboration with Growlersburg and then the Parks and Rec, because it's actually their properties, but they didn't have the capacity to reduce the fuels there. So we're working with them. They've been out 5 days so far, and we still have a couple more days to work with them. It is a process to get. We started back in August when the problem was brought forward, but it was a real shout out to seeing some great work done. And because of where they started, we also have the HOAs now far more involved than we've been, not having that success in the past. So it's one of those great projects happening, one of those collaboratives.
Thank you. What a great suicide. First. Good.
Hi, Melissa Gates, Royal Equestrian Estates. We had an interesting activity going on. Our west border of our community borders where Gallo is going to be doing development. Marble Marble Valley and Lime Rock. Yeah, I can't remember which is which because there's two that are adjacent to our neighborhood. And one of the homeowners whose property abuts their border communicated with the project manager, and they were very responsible and hired Hargos Landscape Management to come out and create a about 20-foot wide border along the backside of his property. And because that was economically beneficial to our HOA to also add on to that, they were able to convince some of the homeowners that also are on that west border that have huge overgrowth of chaparral, chamise, you name it, to also inside their borders cut through. So the HOA is actually paying for another maybe 10-foot clearance back there. So there's hope that they will also continue to maintain it. That's been emphasized that the maintenance is critical. So we're hoping that that will also allow, if and when fire equipment needs to get up there, that they will have a way to be able to access that vulnerable area too. So it was a nice cooperation with Gallo to do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. My copy, Albert Lake Trails.
It's on. Okay, I'm Mike Connolly with Auburn Lake Trails. As Tamara mentioned, we got $100,000 grant from PG&E for fuel reduction work on POA lands within Auburn Lake Trails. Our mandatory defensible space evaluations of all 1,104 properties in Auburn Lake Trails begins on June the 2nd, and we're hopeful for 100% compliance again this year. We've been working with the BOR on, they did some clearing work 2 years ago on BOR land that's adjacent to Auburn Lake Trails, and they're going to start burning slash piles tomorrow. So it's good to see that closing out and getting finished. And we have Green Waste Dumpster Day on May 31st. So thank you.
Great, Mike. And hey, kudos to you and the team at Auburn Lake Trails. Nothing but positive feedback on your evacuation and fire season events, as well as the grant. So great work. Okay, looking around the room or online, any others that I've missed? All right, that takes us to the final piece. Any public comment not already addressed? Alice, we'll start with Alice.
I just wanted to add what Hussein said, because in addition to the list on the California Fire Safety Council, livingwithfire.org, they have also a list of contractors that includes 4 that are in El Dorado County specifically. And they have gone through a full 1-day training up there on home hardening, and also their defensible space people have gone through training. So I recommend people look at that list too. Thank you.
That one's on our website.
Thank you, Alice.
So as you know, I attend Board of Supervisors meetings, and I wanted to let you know last Tuesday that they talked about Grizzly Flat, about the first house to be rebuilt. I don't know if you know Mac, but he's been in a trailer situation for a long time since the fire, and he will start with the new Title 25 rules, which allows him to be part of the building, and he gets a lot of help, materials and stuff in that process. So I wanted to let you know that this is a very positive thing now for Grizzly Flat to be able to finally get going and get their community rebuilt. Now they do have a post office fully operational, and that's rebuilt. I understand the school's going forward with their plans, and there are amongst a lot of other things going on there, but not a house, not a residence. So that's really, really good news. The second thing is that I am your landlord, as Ken knows, through the El Dorado Gold 1848. I tried to separate the two, but under open forum, I just wanted to say it's always fun to have them in the building, and always very informational. If you listen, as I do from my little office, you can hear a lot of things that are of a very positive nature related to this business. But I did want to say that you have now a new office, 106. Jessica, you're in it, okay? And that it helps to expand the office administration aspect of this operation, making it actually better and more professional, in my opinion, Ken. And then the final thing is parking. Parking is a very premium thing in terms of the 15 parking spots that we have around the building. We've handed out cards that go on the dash to the Fire Safe Council as well as the other tenants. But just be careful if you have a meeting there in terms of your parking, coming there to park. It would be better to park in the city's lots or on the street than it would be to try to find a parking spot in there. And that's just speaking in terms of our wanting to work together. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. So with that, I want to, Angel has the mic as we wrap up for the end here, the brown bag event following this meeting. Could you talk about that?
Surprise! It's on? Okay. We're gonna talk, well, I wanna circle back to absentee owners for 1 second, and then we'll talk about working together and donations. And we'll start in about 30 minutes.
Awesome. So we are, as we reach the end of the meeting, as a reminder to everyone. So next month, June, put it on your calendar. We're going to really rechange the format for next month, as we talked about. We'll have our fire service and local OAS partners back with us for a fire season update, or a fire service 101, if you will, how it works in California. We'll have PG&E. We're going to talk to Karen after here because we're going to have a barbecue, and she's looking at me like, oh. And then, yes, we'll do that. And Paul, she's already got it written down. So, and we'll have a few other things. So we'll have an amended agenda that mostly goes after getting the elections done, and then some other good programs. So have a great day, and thank you, everyone. And please come back for meeting adjourned. Thank you.